Hey, folks. One of our sponsors today, one of our favorite sponsors, happens to be Sunset Lake, Seder.com. And we are in their special non-Black Friday mode, Sunset Lake, Seder.com, and the Majority Report teaming up to turn America's most consumerist holiday, now we're on, I guess, Cyber Monday, into a fundraising opportunity for a great organization. And here's how it's working. If you go and visit sunsetlakesebede.com right now, until December 1st, all Sebede products will be between 30 and 60% off. You do not need a coupon code for this. All products, 30 to 60% off. And orders over $100, because they anticipate a lot of people are going to want to stock up during this sale, will receive a free jar of their delicious Sebede gummies.
I love those. I'm out.
A $40 value for free. So I'm trying to do the math here, but if you buy $100 worth of stuff, normally that would cost you anywhere from $130 to $160, and you get another $40. You're talking anywhere from a $100 to a $70 savings. Do not quote me on that because I don't trust my math skills, but it sort of feels like that. Their products are amazing. The products are just simply amazing. I gave a bunch of gifts of the fudge over the past week, sort of like pre-Hanukkah gifts, and also some Thanksgiving gifts, people I'm not going to see. And I leaned heavily on the Sebede tincture to go to sleep. But they also have the rub with the arnica. They have the smokables. They have the the infused coffee. Great products, great integrity in what they grow. You can see the third-party analysis of what's in everything you buy on their website. Great agricultural practices, great business practices, and they do stuff like this. Sunset Lake Sebede will donate 10% of their sales during this sale to GiveDirectly.org. You've heard me talk about Give Directly in the past, International Anti-Poverty Organization. What it does, they send cash directly to people in need to choose for themselves how to spend the money, allows them a certain amount of dignity and, frankly, efficiency. They know what they need the money for. All the studies have shown the most effective way to get people out of extreme poverty, give them cash. On top of that, the Majority Report is going to match that 10% donation. So hopefully we're going to be given a bunch of money to GiveDirectly.org. Sunset Lake Sebede is a majority employee-owned business. They have donated more than $16,000 this year to things like anti-drug organizations, to animal shelters, union funds, strike funds, nature conservation. They've given it to food pantries and refugee resettlement organizations via our fundraiser for those Afghan refugees. Again, visit sunsetlakesebede.com to take advantage of these huge, huge discounts and help them and us raise some money for a great organization. Sale ends December 1st, so do it. Speaking of do it, let's do it with the show, Matt.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
It is Monday, November 29th, 2021. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Omicron. Poised to be the thing that we talk about for the next 6 months.
Well, it's also the guest on the show.
Exactly.
That's what it made it sound like.
We've brought Omicron will be here today.
Omicron.
Senate, meanwhile, back in session. House coming tomorrow. Build Back Better bill. Debt ceiling. Continuing resolution for the budget. National Defense Authorization Act. January 6th commissions. Going to be a lot of stuff to talk about over the next couple of weeks. In addition, oral arguments Supreme Court begins in the Mississippi case, which could further shred, if not kill, Roe v. Wade. Speaking of the January 6th commission, they are now ramping up the pace of contempt hearings and issuing of subpoenas, and some of those witnesses are starting to crack a little. Hopes for a type 1 diabetes cure are raised. Still about 5 years off, but some initial good results. Just thought we'd throw in some happy news. Speaking of which, leftist Xiomara Castro, not pronouncing her first name correctly, I think, headed to a landslide in the Honduran presidential elections. That's good news. Matt McConaughey, dazed, but not confused.
Yikes.
Won't run for Texas governor. You got to hold your yikes to the end of the line, at least.
Well, I mean, it's just, it was anticipatory.
I know it. Jack Dorsey resigns from Twitter. Can't wait to find out the real reason for that. Iran clamps down on water shortage protests as the failure to repair the Iran deal begins to shape a new dynamic with the U.S. We'll talk about that and a couple of stories that we missed from the end of last week and more on today's Majority Report. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to us and maybe to you from your Thanksgiving travels. I'd also like to welcome back Emma Vigeland, who was already annoyed by my headlines.
Not even annoyed. I asked Sam if he could name one other Matthew McConaughey movie before the show started, and let's see if you can do it now.
The space one.
We talked about it at length, that space one.
I can't remember the name of it.
How stupid that space one was.
Well, I feel like you said that love is the fifth dimension.
Yeah.
And, I mean,
Spoiler alert.
That's what Sam's always saying on the show.
I mean, it's the way.
That's what you believe?
I mean, that's just one of the words, one of my watchwords.
Sam's, you've always said you don't have any tattoos, but if you were to get a tattoo, it would say love is the fifth dimension. Yep. Yeah.
You know, it is amazing how many opportunities there are in my life to be questioned, and I'm not going to say derided, because I think it's obviously it's not derision about like you can't name, you don't know who that is, you can't name an extra movie. The only movie reference you have is from 1992, and yeah, all right,
yeah,
it's true.
Also, elephant in the room, haircut.
Yeah. Yep. I got a haircut. I got my first haircut since COVID. That was done by somebody other than me in a mirror. Mm-hmm. And you have in the past criticized my methodology of cutting my hair, which is I look into the camera and I see that there's something sticking up and I cut it.
Yeah. You grab like paper scissors from your mug there. And
right before the show.
Right before the show. And you cut it as you look into the camera. Yeah. I mean, it's not crazy that I find that to be a little nuts. I
just want to quote from the professional hair cutter that I went to this weekend. I splurged big time. I paid a significant amount of money for the haircut, much more than I normally do.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yes.
I would like to know, maybe off air.
It was, let me put it this way. It was over my normal $25.
Whoa.
And that I consider to be high.
That's
basically double.
I got a haircut. Shout out to Barber Station, Mandan, North Dakota. That's what they're paying in Mandan these days. So,
$25?
$25, yeah.
Damn. But you can still find a good, I think, $25 haircut in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Never, but I figure if I amortize it over the course of the past 2 years, so I paid $60 for a haircut.
Wow.
Yep.
Jesus Christ, being a man is so much easier than being a woman.
But she did say, because I told her, I said, I was a little sheepish. I was like, it may look like I've been, on the lamb or something like that, or, cutting with a razor blade. And she said, no, you actually did a pretty good job, except for in the back. Apparently, the left side in the back was significantly longer than the right
The
side.
back is hard.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't even try.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't show up in the mirror.
Well, when I'm even doing my hair, like as a, like styling it, I sometimes just, you guys don't see the back, so I'm not going to try that hard.
Just wanted to get that out of the way. I also wanted to thank I've had a birthday this past week, and appreciate all of the happy birthday notices. I am now 78 years old. And so I want to thank everyone for wishing me happy birthday. But many of you, and I am not going to name names, and in fact, most of the people around me, people who I assume love me, did not wish me a happy sorry to Mike Cernovich day, which also happens to fall on my birthday. You will recall, was it 5 years ago? 2017. No, it was 2017. Yeah. On November 2017, November 28th, 2017, I was in Key Food getting some paper plates for the birthday celebration I was about to have at my house. I was going to have two couples over, and I had ordered Chinese food, and that was going to be the big birthday celebration. And I get a phone call from MSNBC. I could see it was MSNBC on my, I didn't know who it was, but I could see it was like the Rockefeller Center like exchange. And I'm like, I'm going to tell them I cannot do the show tonight. Sorry, but it turned out to be a public relations. Do you know who Mike Cernovich is? Yeah. Did you tweet out in 2009 the tweet, I don't care about Roman Polanski, but if my daughter is ever raped, I hope it's by a much older man who has a great sense of mise en scène. And I said, yes, in fact, I did. It's a pretty good tweet. But I just deleted it because I saw some weird people like retweeting it, and now I know why. He goes, well, it's retweeted by Donald Trump Jr. And I was like, well,
he was really plugged into those guys.
Yeah. And I was like, well, all you need to do is go back and see all the other tweets that I did at that time. This was in response to a petition that was going around, signed by some of my friends from show business. Back in 2009, I was very much closer to, that world than I am today. Some directors, and I was pissed because I don't think a guy who sexually assaulted, raped, drugged her, had agreed to a plea deal, skipped the country. I don't think he should be let back into the country to get a Lifetime Achievement Award or whatever it was, simply and be allowed to not be held accountable for skipping out of the country just because he's a great director. I mean, I think he's a great director, but I also think that he's a criminal and should not be allowed to come back into the country. And I think if you read that, you will see that I am no one, even if they were a psycho and wanted to be able to pick their daughter's rapist, would say one of the things is they have to have a great sense of mise en scène. Like, I don't think I've ever even used those words in anything but a joke in my entire life.
Pretty classic joke structure.
And he said, well, could you write this up and send it to me? And so I went back, and before we had the birthday dinner, I wrote it up, sent it to them, and then over the course of the week, they ended up sort of firing me, and it was reported that they fired me, and then all hell broke loose. But in the final end, the real main question was to the whole event was offered by this guy, Mike Cernovich. Let's run that tape where he asks the key question.
Who's laughing now, Sam?
Yes, well, I still continue to laugh because I was rehired, and in fact, it really was sort of the last successful thing or thing that Mike Cernovich did in that.
Yeah,
space.
where is he now?
Up until the Crowder thing, that was our biggest like sort of single rise in subscribers, I think, on YouTube. Like the metrics just went off the charts thanks to Mike. So we appreciate the marketing he did for us.
Without a doubt. And personally, I mean, it was one of the best experiences of my life.
Yes.
I heard from a wide array of people. It became an issue for people, for journalists who were worried, for people who didn't want the alt-right to be able to sort of dictate things like this. You know, the idea that people can comb through tweets. And look, I have no problem with people having to account for things that they've put out in the public. But by any standard, that is a piece of satire, and B, one that criticizes rape apologists. And everybody knew it. That was the thing, is that everybody knew it. And I mean, I think we had some anti-rape activists who were like, this is like the 0.01% of rape jokes, or the use of rape in a joke that is actually valid, because it was attacking rape apologists. And so it worked out quite well. It was really.
I mean,
so
it's
this is the annual thank you,
right.
Mike Cernovich Day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wonder how long they can stretch this accusing their political opponents of being pedophiles thing, because like they're still attempting to do so because they know it has such a chilling effect. It's literally like the only way that these ghouls can morally posture is to like pick the worst, most morally reprehensible attribute and pin it on somebody, however disingenuously. And so like then everything is justified, right?
Right. Well, this was also in the midst of a massive, the massive Me Too moment.
Yeah.
And there was also, who was that guy from NBC? Matt Lauer was also getting it. And we had coincidentally, in 2012, done a video about Matt Lauer when he was talking to Anne Hathaway. And I, in this video, I had said, like, this guy's a freaking creep, and something else is going to come out about this guy.
What was he doing?
With the Anne Hathaway?
Yeah.
Anne Hathaway, like some guy had taken a picture of her, paparazzi and stuck his camera up her skirt. And it was a horrible, violation. And she comes on to the Today Show, and Matt Lauer starts up with going like, seen a real lot of you these days.
Oh,
and it was just the creepiest mother effing thing I could ever imagine even contemplating saying. And
yikes.
And like in any context, to someone like, it's not like this is his best friend. And,
But that was super common. Again, we're going totally off the rails. I'll just say that was super common in like mid 2000s. I mean, 2007. There needs to be some sort of documentary or thesis about paparazzi culture. I mean, we're starting it with the Britney Spears conversation, but what that said about society.
Well, that was 2012. I think you were talking about the sexism, but
yeah.
But and so just coincidentally, we had done a video, and I was like, this guy's a creep. I mean, something. There's more behind this than that. Video did virtually nothing, but then at that time it had got about 2 million views in that same week with Cernovich, and so it all was sort of. But that was it. It was thank you, Mike Cernovich, wherever you are, whatever gorilla mind tricks you're selling online these days. All right, let's just play this clip of Lauren Boebert, and we'll get into this stuff here. This happened, I guess, last Thursday. Was it Thursday?
That's when it was released. I think it was over the Thanksgiving break.
It was over the break. I think it was the day before. she is, I mean, look, this is, and we played that clip of that local newscaster who made a really good point, which is, you know, she's so horrific that we give her a break because we lower the standards for her. And therefore we don't apply the same level of standards, but you have to. You have to, because it's not just about Laura Boebert. Who cares about her? The issue is she is a rising star in the Republican Party. You must see what the Republican Party is about, because it doesn't just end with Ilhan Omar. Play this.
Actually, I have an Ilhan story for you. So, the other night on the House floor was not my first Jihad Squad moment. So, I was getting into an elevator with one of my staffers, and he and we're leaving the Capitol. We're going back to my office, and we get in the elevator, and I see a Capitol police officer running hurriedly to the elevator. I see fret all over his face, and he's reaching, and I'm like, what? I can't, the door's shutting. Like, I can't open it. Like, what's happening? I look to my left, and there she is, Ilhan Omar. Oops. And I said, well, she doesn't have a backpack. We should be fine. So we only had one floor to go, and I was like, do I say it or not? I looked over, and I said, oh, look, the Jihad Squad decided to show up for work today. Don't worry, it's just her staffers on Twitter that talk for her. She's not tough in person. She doesn't, yes. So, there's a little bit of interaction with these folks there.
She's not tough in person. She like literally living in a refugee camp.
Yeah, right. I would love for like Lauren Boebert to switch bodies with her a la Freaky Friday style for like one day and see how she fares.
And so, you know, the point is that Lauren Boebert doesn't go out there and say things like Jihad Squad and
she said it twice in that.
Yep.
Like it's a catchphrase.
Well, no, she had already said it 2 days before on the House floor as a part of her speech.
And we should say that she's not saying this because she wants views on YouTube from shows like ours. She's saying this because it resonates with the people in that room. And it resonates with the millions of people who are on these email lists. And it's her way of building her relevance in the Republican Party. And it should tell you everything you need to know about the Republican Party. It just goes round and round. The Jihad Squad. And, you know, it's Muslims, it's women of color. And I mean, this is part of the party. This is part of what brings their people out to vote. Get a vote against the Jihad Squad.
Yeah, I mean, we've mentioned it countless times, but Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of the top fundraisers in the Republican Party, and Boebert wants a slice of that pie. So the way she's going to market herself is create these viral moments where she's super, super racist about Ilhan Omar, and then everyone's going to condemn it. It'll get more publicity, and they should condemn it. It's appropriate, but that's the incentive structure for her.
But let's be clear. You don't have to take it from me that it's this appeals to the Republican Party. And it's not just everybody's going to condemn it. Here's clip number 2. This is the Pueblo County Republican chair, Robert Leverington. This is audio from a conversation with KRDO News in Colorado.
I think that Congresswoman Boebert probably expressed the sentiment of many Americans. This Congresswoman Omar has been poking her finger in the eyes of many Americans over the last couple of years, and we're sick of it.
I mean, first off, on day one, they were talking about Ilhan Omar as being non-congressional because she's a Muslim woman,
and birtherism with the whole like incest lie about her.
Right.
But I don't even know what that means, poking her eye in Americans.
Oh, because she dares to have a critique of American empire, and she is non-white, and she's a woman, and she's from a different country. She was born in a different country, so it's very offensive.
And it makes it much easier, of course, rather than saying, hey, you seem to be, poking your eye. You seem to be an eye poker as opposed to jihadist.
Right.
But,
so
but it's all part of the same stuff, right? There's something about her that's inherently not like us.
Of course.
And so she must be some sort of infiltrator or traitor, or, let's make a joke about the fact that she's going to bomb the Capitol building.
She wants Boebert censured. And it's unclear what Pelosi is going to do about that. I just don't know how you can in any way allow a congressman to say about another congresswoman or congressman, or frankly any Americans, jihad squad. I just don't know how you can allow that. And you can't stop them from doing it, but you can register, hey, this is a problem. I mean, again, we're in the same situation with the Democratic leadership. Put aside for even just one moment the question of ideology. They ostensibly are practicing politics, and they need to indicate to the American public that there is something wrong with the Republican Party. And it is almost as if they go out and they publicly say, we need a strong Republican Party. Well, I got news for you, dude. It's not there. And so your job now is to make the American public realize there are no two options to vote for. You can't vote for the Republican Party. You got to vote for the Democrats, because we need a strong Republican Party, but there is no building one.
But that's the issue. They're going to try to censure. I mean, one, they should censure it. Censure Boebert. But look at how this moment was born. It was born on the floor of a hearing or the procedure to censure Gosar for a video where he depicted killing AOC. It was the Attack on Titan parody, right? So it's like a censure within a censure. They're taking this opportunity as their moment to shine. Gosar did it, and now Boebert's going to do it. And I have no faith that Pelosi's going to tie them to the Republicans in general and might just other them. And that's my fear.
It's incumbent on Pelosi to do something. I would say I'm not confident that she will, but after she did go out of her way to join in with Omar is anti-Semitic thing that's I think fed into this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Without a doubt. People forget that they stepped all over their HR1 rollout back in 2018 because they were so insistent on distancing themselves from Ilhan Omar's comments, which were aside from being completely appropriate in my estimation, they were not materially different from things that like Tom Friedman has said. One of the few times I think Tom Friedman got something right. So this is an F up, a long time F up, frankly, by the Democrats. All right, we got to take, we don't have to take anything. We've got a couple of sponsors for today's program. You read about this constantly. All over the world, companies hit by ransomware attacks have their valuable digital files held hostage and are forced to decide whether to pay cybercriminals to get them back. Well, Egnyte is the first ever file system with sophisticated ransomware detection and recovery tools that are fully baked in. Behind the scenes, Egnyte gives companies with limited IT, those are folks like you, limited security staff, much of the power of much larger teams. With Egnyte, you know exactly where key documents are and who has access. I was contemplating, how would we roll this out on our office? And we have nothing. We have no key documents in this office. Take that. But if we did, this is exactly, this product is made exactly for companies like ours. It automatically detects more than 2,000 ransomware variants, flags unusual behavior, no on-site hardware or software needed, shut down compromised accounts, quickly identify and restore encrypted files, all from a single cloud-based platform. Ransomware does sneak through. You can restore your files fast and be back up and running in hours, not days, without having to pay the bad guys one penny. I don't think people realize how widespread this is, because more often than not, small businesses will just pay. With Egnyte, you don't need a specialized security ops team to keep up. The system is always learning and adapting to new threats. Learn more about how Egnyte can protect your business from ransomware, or see why Egnyte is rated #1 for data security by real customers in G2 Crowd. Start your free trial today at egnyte.com, EGNYTE.com. That's EGNYTE.com. Oh, use this, well, every day. I got some right here. I drank some last night because, last night was my birthday. I indulged.
I had some last night, too.
Now, one of the things about the cooler weather, apparently, it makes it easier to miss signs of dehydration, like overheating or perspiration. Those are ways that but you still don't know you're dehydrated. It gets super dry at night now with all that dry heat we got cranking in those old buildings that we live in around here. You got to keep yourself properly hydrated. 1 stick of liquid IV in 16 ounces of water hydrates faster and more efficiently than water alone. Plus, liquid IV tastes great with flavors like watermelon, strawberry, lemon, lime. Or today's option for me, tangerine.
Oh.
I want the immunity. They get, extra vitamins in that. If you're enjoying a few extra drinks now that the holidays are approaching, like Sam Seder's birthday or Mike Cernovich Day, like I did celebrating last night, Liquid IV has what you need. Drinking some today, drank some last night before I went to bed, feeling pretty good. Liquid IV contains 5 essential vitamins, more vitamin C than an orange, and as much potassium as a banana. It's healthier than sugary sports drinks. There are no artificial flavors or preservatives and less sugar than an apple. It's got the optimal ratio of glucose, sodium, and potassium. It delivers water and nutrients into the bloodstream. And the company has donated over 4 million servings in response to COVID-19. Products are being donated to hospitals, first responders, food banks, and more. Check it out, folks. We all use Liquid IV in here. For me, I drink it daily during the course of the show, and then I'll have a packet or two if I overindulge or feeling a little dried out. Grab your favorite Liquid IV flavors nationwide at Walmart, or you can get 25% off when you go to liquidiv.com. Use the code MajorityRep at checkout. That's 25% off anything you order, and you get better hydration today using promo code MajorityRep at liquidiv.com. And lastly, I mentioned up top that we've got this thing going with Sunset Lake. And they had come to me and they had said, what charity do you want to donate to? Mm-hmm. And we donate to a bunch of different places over the course of the year. But for my personal one and what I encourage the kids to do when they want to give money to charity is to give directly. And the way I found Give Directly is by going to givewell.org. So you want to give to a charity, hard to know exactly how your money is going to be used. If you want help and you want evidence-backed, high-impact charities, check out givewell.org. GiveWell spends over 20,000 hours a year researching charitable organizations and only recommends a few of the highest impact evidence-based charities they've found. Over 50,000 donors have used GiveWell to donate more than $750 million. That's going to save tens of thousands of lives and improve the lives of millions more. The best part, GiveWell is free. They publish all of their research and recommendations on their site for free, no sign-up required. They allocate your tax-deductible donation to the charity you choose without taking a cut. So for me, I found Give Directly via GiveWell. I don't think that they're I don't know if they're related. I don't think they are. Most of the charities up there have nothing to do with the word give. But Give Directly, for me personally, there's a lot of data that basically says if you give people living in extreme poverty money directly, they know best how to spend it in a way that will improve their lives, long-term, short-term. But there are other charities there. And, you know, one of the things you want when you give to a charity is you want the money to have as much impact per dollar as possible. And so for, you know, Hanukkah, what we do is we have one night where the kids, instead of getting a present, I take that money and we donate it to a charity of their choice. So we go onto that site, and usually off of that site, my kids will make their choice. Saul's, you know, Saul likes, you know, to give to animals, but that's still good. But nevertheless, if you've never donated to GiveWell's recommended charities before, you can have your donation matched up to $250 before the end of the year, or as long as matching funds last. So to claim your match, go to givewell.org and pick podcast, and to enter the Majority Report with Sam Seder at checkout, you will have your donation matched by $250. So make sure that they know that you heard about GiveWell from the Majority Report to get your donation matched. Check it out, givewell.org. All right. So I want to just briefly touch on two stories that we missed at the end of the week. And that would be the Arbery case and what happened with Unite the Right. In Virginia, a jury awarded more than $26 million in damages after finding the white nationalists who organized and participated in a violent 2017 rally. I think we all remember that. And we also know that Heather Heyer was murdered via car. The jury in the federal trial said it could not reach a verdict on two federal conspiracy claims. So they are liable on a state conspiracy claim and one other claim. And, you know, this is one of the ways that you fight this stuff. Are these people ever going to see this money? No. But half of the $24 million in punitive damages were awarded against this guy, James Alex Fields, who sped his car through those protesters. In addition, the jury awarded punitive damages against some of the organizers, Kessler and Jason Kessler, Matt Haimbeck, Richard Spencer, Cantwell. Got $700,000. Haimbeck got $500,000. I don't know if they'll ever be able to pay it, but it is a way to discourage them from making money at their business of being white nationalists. You know, this type of stuff you'll see more of. I would be surprised if we don't see a civil case against
Rittenhouse.
Yep, I'd be very surprised.
I believe there is one ongoing. I could be wrong.
Yeah, and you have a...
Actually, I'm sorry. I want to correct myself quickly. I believe it's a civil case against the police department for aiding.
That's right. But I wouldn't be surprised if you saw one against Rittenhouse himself. Because the standards in a civil case, the threshold to find them guilty of something is obviously lower than it is in a criminal case. But we shall see. So just wanted to give you an update on that. And obviously the Ahmaud Arbery murder verdicts, the three defendants, Travis McMichael, guilty on all accounts, Gregory McMichael, guilty on all but one count, and William Bryan, similarly mostly guilty on most of those counts. And this is a story of a guy who was jogging through a neighborhood. The defendants, you know, none of the facts in the case were disputed in terms of, you know, much of it was on video. And guys jogging through a neighborhood had supposedly been seen suspiciously jogging through that neighborhood before, or walking through that neighborhood, or, you know, on a construction site looking around at stuff. That was not that day. And so, of course, they got into their truck and chased him down with guns and shot him. there's a lot of things that you can take away from that case. And again, like, I don't, as a matter of policy, and I don't look at how cases are adjudicated as they're happening. But, these cases they send messages, they're bellwethers as to, how functioning our legal system is. They also claimed a self-defense defense.
Yeah.
And, people have to contemplate the idea that, like, I could take a gun, get up into somebody's face for no reason, and if I'm all of a sudden scared that they're going to attack me, then I shoot them dead and self-defense. I mean, it is.
And if the victim of the murder has a gun, then I'm sure it's like a heads you win, tails, or heads I win, tails you lose situation. Like, oh, that's more reason to fear for your life.
Whoever's dead.
Yeah.
They were the one who was threatening the person who had to kill them because they were threatening them.
Our self-defense laws largely are set up to aid and abet this kind of vigilantism
but
for white people.
That vigilantism wouldn't work if that was like a Trump protest, for instance, and some guy got in your face and tried to disarm you and you iced him. I'm guessing you'd probably go down for that.
How about this case coming out of Kenosha as well? Crystal Geyser, a black teenager who was essentially coaxed into sex trafficking when she was underage by a white man. She killed him in Kenosha and is being tried right now for that murder. I mean, that's like what people are putting up against the Rittenhouse case, but that's just another example of how self-defense only really applies to a certain segment of the population.
And just overall, like, guys deciding, oh, I'm in the clear to kill now it's hard for me to divorce that from the context of America, where we were never able to pass anti-lynching legislation in this country because that was politically impossible.
Yeah, right.
All right, so just contemplate this. The idea, and again, I didn't watch the specifics of the case, but just broadly speaking, the idea that a man jogging down a street and is chased ostensibly because he doesn't look like he belongs there, he being black, the chasers looking being white. He's killed, has no weapon. It's all on video. And imagine the things you can glean from the idea that these people were convicted. And note that the jury was mostly white, all white.
Mm-hmm. They weren't swayed, it seems, by the toenails argument.
Oh, yeah, that he had dirty toenails, which,
so
of course,
it. Great. Yeah, thank you.
Imagine what, and also recall that you had all these public statements, or I should say these statements by the defense lawyers, like, we don't need more black preachers coming in here and sitting, on the side of the family that's grieving. Imagine how, what you could take away from this verdict. I think you could say, like, well, okay, there are situations where a blatant killing of somebody is held to account. And there are actually 12 white people, I don't know how many people on the jury, maybe 11, who can actually find that to be the case. That's one takeaway you could have. Here's another takeaway. This one is from Tulsi Gabbard. Do we have that?
So the jury in the Arbery case got the verdict right today, just like the jury got the verdict right in the Rittenhouse case. These jurors are our peers. They're our fellow Americans. And these verdicts show in both these cases how these jurors had the intelligence and the honesty to make the right decision based on examining evidence and facts, not based on race or politics. So these examples directly undermine the woke narrative that Americans are stupid and racist. Because if America was a racist country, like some people say that it is, Arbery's killers would not have been found guilty by a nearly all-white jury in Georgia. Now, most Americans, people of all races, truly believe in and are inspired by Dr. Martin Luther King's adage that we are all God's children. And as such, we should judge each other based on the content of our character, not the color of our skin.
That's how you know she's completed that full right-wing turn, right? When she's just like bastardizing MLK. They love that. It's a rite of passage on the right.
And we should also say, this is not like, whoa, I got to get on the phone and do this. This is a campaign, actually, that she's running here. She did the same thing. She tweeted out more or less the same thing. She went on TikTok. This is her way of her signaling that because the Ahmaud Arbery verdict was guilty, it proves, here it is, the jurors for both, Arbery's murders would not have been found guilty by an overwhelming white jury in the Deep South if America was a racist country. Now, think about how absurd that is. That for America to be a racist country, you could never have, even in the most blatant of instances, a white jury convict white people of murdering a black person. Just like even like a child understands that that's not the case, right? I mean, even a child. And so you have to start to examine, what is she doing here? And let's play just a couple of examples of her saying stuff that seems to be in contradiction to this, but this was back when she wasn't.
Yeah, was she if she existed in her current form in 2008, she would have said when Obama got elected, it ended racism in America. It's kind of like same stuff, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
But here she was back in 2016, 2020? When is it she ran?
She ran in 2016.
Put up those.
I mean, no, in 2020, geez.
What's your response?
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting black and brown people all across this country today.
How could that happen? Why would that happen? It's not a racist country. Maybe she didn't realize at that time that when those guys killed Ahmaud Arbery, that they would be convicted. So, I mean, are we not a racist country if our criminal justice system is unfair to black and brown people? I don't know what would you call that?
A lot of things changed since then, right?
That was almost a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
It's not like they get Southern jury rules. What is it? At what point does she say
Here she is. Criminal justice reform must include strategies for dismantling the systemic racism that causes black men to disproportionately receive harsher sentences compared to other races and ethnicities for the same types of crime. That was in 2019.
We should get her on record on when she thinks the jury rolls in the South became, not racist at all. But I want to just detail here. This is from First Coast News out of Brunswick, Georgia. It took the police 74 days to arrest Ahmaud Arbery's killers. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation says the primary reason for this delayed justice is former Brunswick District Attorney Jackie Johnson. For her alleged role in preventing a proper investigation, Johnson, 49, was indicted September 8th by a Glynn County grand jury on charges of violation of an oath of a public officer. So even this case,
right,
not exactly the smooth sailing one you'd want as a model.
I think the tweet should be, despite the fact that this is a racist country, the Ahmaud Arbery case gives us some hope that there is an opportunity for justice to be served. That would be it. But I am not essentially trying to build my Substack or get on.
Well, this
Dave
is why we
Rubin's
have to
show,
be discerning. This is why we have to be discerning about the kinds of people we bring into the tent of the left. Because just because she went on stage and she had a moment of critiquing Kamala Harris from ostensibly the left, right? No, there is an appetite for criticizing Democrats and an audience for that, and they're not as concerned about the substance of it, and that's why she was able to build up credibility with this very same crowd and able to move to the right in the way that she is doing right now.
There's a nice Wikipedia page that you might want to look up: racial discrimination in jury selection. Just look that up, Tulsi.
Right.
All right, briefly, Omicron. There's not much to be said about Omicron at this point,
except to do it in a fun voice.
Yes. Omicron. Except to complain, is there, have we been able to establish there was an epsilon? I understand why they didn't do the new NU, which is a Greek letter, because that would be confusing. But why not epsilon? Right? I mean, didn't we also have a lambda at one point that was in Latin America? I don't understand. I just feel like you should go in order. And beyond that, all we know about the Omicron at this point is
there was an Epsilon variant.
Oh, there was? Okay, yep. That's probably it. We've gone through these, and so the good news is the variants they don't get named unless they're significant in some fashion or they're measured, and they don't always turn out to be worse. It is quite possible, and again, it's so early on this data that it is. You've heard anecdotal claims of its transmittability is like enough to go across the hall in a shut hotel room door. But you've also heard that its impact for vaccinated people is less than even Delta in terms of illness. So it's conceivable you could have a more communicable, but less virulent strain, which could overtake, let's say, the Delta strain and, I don't know, begin to wind it down. The bottom line is, though, is that this is indicative of a problem that we have in the world, which is the U.S. government, frankly, the German government, other governments, but particularly U.S., which protects the patents of the Moderna and at least to some extent the Pfizer vaccine, particularly the Moderna, which we spent billions in developing. We need to take that over. Like, the days of encouraging are done.
The days of donations are done.
We need to say, in South Africa, they'd have the ability to pump out Moderna in a year if Moderna gave them the formula. It's going to take them 3 years to develop a sort of to reverse engineer it. We need, as a government, to get them to basically say your patent protections are a function of our government. They don't exist in nature. And in this instance, we need not just the formula, but also the best practices on how to develop it. All of it. All of it. A, because we paid for it. B, not just because we paid for it, but because that's what we're demanding.
And also C, because it's not like the executives at Moderna and Pfizer haven't gotten enormously rich off of this already. They just want more of the pie, and they have to answer to shareholders who don't want the profits to stop anytime soon. But like, it's kind of the way that we deal with climate change internationally as well. Oh, we take it very seriously and we don't want anyone to die from it, but we're not going to proactively cut into the profits until the very, very last minute, if we do it at all, of these major corporations in order to make it happen. It's necessary to waive IP to stop these variants.
And, as a political matter, Joe Biden is perceived, I think a lot of what Joe Biden's political problems at this point, they're basically of two types. One is Democratic base is beginning to feel like they got nothing done and that Biden has not delivered on many of the campaign promises that he had. And the other is people afraid that he's not up to the task in terms of dealing with COVID. That may or may not be fair. But one of the ways that you can signal that you're doing that is by trying to end the pandemic around the world. Because if you end the pandemic around the world, it ends here.
He can't think that. I mean, he doesn't seem necessarily capable of thinking that expansively.
Well, there's certainly people in his administration, I would imagine, who understand this concept, but it is just that the protecting the patents.
Well, he's come out in favor of it 2 days ago. For the first time in 7 months, he had another public statement about I'm in favor of waiving vaccine IP. But that doesn't
get more aggressive.
Read Sarah Lazar's reporting it in these times. There's internal documents that show that basically they're not really pushing much behind the scenes. He sees it as something that he can use as a little bit of crumbs to throw to the left, to make it seem like he's taking this seriously. But when it comes to actually putting pressure on, say, like Angela Merkel or these other governments that are being really proactive in protecting vaccine IP, like, he has to be applying pressure. He seems uncomfortable doing that domestically with Build Back Better, and he seems uncomfortable, obviously, doing that internationally.
Yeah, saying it is not relevant.
He's a press release president.
Yep. And so, I mean, this is the only way that this thing is going to end at the final analysis, is that we're going to have enough vaccine for the rest of the world. And we can get boosted all we want, but if you allow this race to be lost between vaccinating the world and variants, it doesn't matter how many boosters we get.
I mean, and we're appealing to his self-interest here too, right? Like, it is in everybody's self-interest to end the pandemic. And the only way that we're going to be able to do that is to waive vaccine IP.
So just finally, an update on the Build Back Better. Apparently now it is undergoing a bird rule scrutiny in the Senate. Reconciliation dictated by the bird rule. Two elements of the bird rule. One, things need to be more or less deficit neutral when you're doing it through reconciliation. This bill, I think, has been deemed to be more or less deficit neutral. And B, it must have a material impact on the U.S. budget. And so the parliamentarian / president, I think is what they call the parliamentarian, right?
President parliamentarian.
President parliamentarian.
Lord parliamentarian.
Who is, again, just hired by the party that runs the Senate. That's all. It's not even like it's not even a position that isn't a function of the political party. So just contemplate that for a moment, folks. And so we're waiting on the parliamentarian to tell us what we can have in this stripped down Build Back Better bill. No word on where Manchin or Sinema is these days, although the big take now seems to be that Sinema is open to negotiating things if she gets stuff she wants, supposedly. Manchin is, I don't know if he's still worried about inflation, but oil prices are coming down. And so we'll see what his latest excuse will be. We will give you updates as the week goes on. We also have a continuing resolution that the House is poised to pass in a day or two, punting to December. We also got the debt ceiling, which is supposedly going to arise in 2 weeks, according to Janet Yellen. We also have the National Defense Authorization Act, where we somehow find an extra $35 billion for the military, even though they didn't ask for it. So you're talking about an $8 trillion bill over the course of 10 years. And that's a minimum, unless anybody cuts it back. $8 trillion. All right, going to head into the fun half. Yeah, here we are. That's the way we roll, folks. I don't need to do any of that other stuff. I don't need to, there's no peacock around here anymore. I don't need to do that. I'm not swimming in...
We're no longer swimming in
Comcast money. So forget about it. Folks, just... Oh, shoot. I meant to do this up front. All right. Well, for those of you who stay to the end of the show, you're going to get a little bonus today.
Wow.
I'm going to drop a name of one of the people. And we're still, incidentally, in terms of the Majority Report live show, send us an email. Tell us where you're coming from. We're still doing a little bit of a contest. The longest person, the furthest away.
Oh, I didn't hear about this.
Oh, I guess that happened last week. Do we have those emails? You have those emails, right, Bradley? Do you remember what the so far where we were at? I can't remember what it was, but I can't remember. You got it though. So send it in. We got people coming from Pennsylvania, but then we got people coming from Canada. And then we got people coming from like far away in Canada.
We'll have some California too.
We're going to have some California.
Hawaii.
Hawaii?
Yeah, I thought someone said in the IMs last week Hawaii, but we'll have to confirm
we need the proof. You can't just claim.
You can't reveal, Bradley, yet that Tulsi Gabbard is going to be our special guest on the show. You really just totally screwed the pooch here.
Anyways, folks.
Yeah.
There's also some people who are going to be coming from Boston there. One of those people is a man named Larry Murphy, friend of the show, about as Boston as you can get. And he's going to come, we're going to have some fun. This show's not all just going to be about talking politics. It's going to be also about having some fun. Larry Murphy, the voice of 10 characters on on the what is that show?
Bob's Burgers.
Bob's Burgers, yeah. And he also was the guy who played Assy McGee in Assy McGee. And I did a guest spot on Assy McGee back in the day. I think he played Assy McGee. That's one of the things maybe we could ask.
Is that still on Peacock?
No, that's not on Peacock. That was never on Peacock. And also a former Boston resident, but Massachusetts guy. What is it? John Benjamin will be there. Yep. And now I've had some problems with him in the past. John Benjamin. He's going to be at the show. A lot of people wonder, why would you ask somebody who you have such a thorny relationship with to the show? Because I want to show people back in Boston that I'm bigger. I'm a bigger person than other people.
Right.
Like John.
Yeah.
I'm physically bigger. I'm emotionally bigger. I am
physically bigger in what way? And emotionally bigger in what way?
Well, I'm taller.
Oh, okay.
Stronger. Heavier.
And emotionally bigger, just like more broad, or you
just have more emotional depth, more emotional IQ, whatever that's called.
Yeah, right. Well,
emotional
I mean, kind of contradicting
quotient
yourself there, but emotional intelligence.
I have more humility, more honesty, more of everything than John Benjamin does.
I have the biggest emotions.
And but he's going to be at the show too. Now we're going to have other guests. We're going to have people who, like policy guests, and maybe I don't know. We're working on it, but there's going to be plenty of us there too. And there's going to be plenty of you. There's still some seats, quality seats. There are still some quality seats left. You can go to majoritylive.com to get your tickets. Majoritylive.com. Right now, the plan is you got to be vaccinated. You got to be masked. I believe that's the situation. If for some reason we get up there and it's like, oh my God, how did COVID go away? But, so if that's a hesitation, just check with the Wilbur. That's what our policy is going to be. Want to protect everybody. Before any of us go into that place, we're going to take multiple antigen tests. Mm-hmm. And so come. It should be fun. It should be fun. It's going to be, I'm super psyched just to see everybody. It's going to be like a coming out party. This is going to be the biggest event that I've been to, I would say, since COVID, probably 5 or 6 years before COVID, 10 years, 12, 15, 25. This could be the biggest event in my entire life.
Wow.
So, folks, don't forget, you can also support this program by going to jointhemajorityreport.com. Your support keeps this show alive. On Mike Cernovich Day, I got to say thank you to our members, because honestly, there was 1 or 2 moments where I was scared that they were going after our advertisers. I was like, I'm going to get fired from MSNBC. Who cares about that? But I was worried about for about 3 seconds until the members just sort of roared back. And so thank you to everybody who's supported this show, whether it's been for months or for years. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. And Matt, what's happening in the Matt Lecking media universe?
Yeah, go check out last week. We had a discussion with Lillian Chichurchia of the What's Left of Philosophy podcast. We talked about, is Marxism deterministic, and is it kind of is it intellectually constraining in that way? And the answer is no. So check that out. Patreon.com/leftreckoning. And we got Paul Prescott on this week on Wednesday.
Paul Prescott?
He's running for office, a Jacobin contributor running for office in Pennsylvania.
Oh, that's exciting.
Very cool.
Also, we got new merch, I think, right? Shop.majorityreportradio.com. Check it out.
We do?
I think we do. We might. Getting some pencils, stuff like that. All right, folks, see you in the fun half. 646-257-3920 is the number.
You are in for it.
All right, folks, 646-257-3920. See you in the fun.
Are you ready?
Who sent us this?
Anarchy. Alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just as delicious as you could imagine.
The alpha males are back. Boy is back. And the alpha males are back.
Just want to degrade the white man.
Alpha males are back.
I take all of it in my throat.
Alpha males are back.
Snowflake says what?
The alpha males are back.
You are a madman.
And the alpha males are back.
Oh no, Sam Seder! What a fucking nightmare!
Bring back DJ.
Yeah, or a couple of them. Just put them in rotation.
DJ Denner.
Well, the problem with those is they're like 45 seconds long, so I don't know if they're enough of a break.
That's fucking nonsense. See white people doing drugs, they look worse than normal white people, and all white people look disgusting.
And the alpha males,
psych, fuck them. Snowflake says what? What? Snowflake says what?
A hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank. Okay, I'm making stupid money. Hell of a lot of bank. A hell of a lot of bank.
All lives matter. Have you tried doing an impression on a college campus?
I think that there's no reason why reasonable people across the divide can't all agree with this. Psych.
And the alpha males are back. And the Africans are black African. And the alpha males are black. And the Africans are back.
When you see Donald Trump out there, doesn't a little part of you think that America deserves to be taken over by jihadists? Keeping it 100.
Can't knock the hustle.
Come on, fuck them. Things I do for the bigger game plan. By the way, it's my birthday. Happy birthday to me, Jew boy. I have a thought experiment for you.
And the alpha males are back. Africans are black. Alpha males are black. Africans are back.
Come on. Come on. Someone needs to pay the price for blasphemy around here.
I am a total pussy.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. It is the fun half of the show, 646-257-3920. Emma is having a food crisis.
Yeah,
she doesn't have her cashews.
Yeah.
No cashews. Let's read a couple IMs. Sam's greased up calves. Sam, I'm so happy to hear that the live show is going to be your coming out party. We are all extremely proud of you, and it's 100% understandable that this is the biggest event of your life. Big Dick Cheney energy. The right has spent the last half-decade screaming about how Twitter's CEO, Jack, is their enemy because he silences them for the truth or whatever. And now they've turned on a dime and are saying Jack is a victim of the left and that they pushed him out of his own company. Which is it, guys?
It's almost like they're reactionaries.
The weird thing is it could, like, he's a big Bitcoin guy. He's been... I think they've always been sort of, it's the shadowy board figures who are, not letting Jack Dorsey be his true self, I think.
Yep.
Well, I mean, they also just don't have any consistency.
I mean, Dorsey was in pictures with the Unite the Right. I forget what that guy's name is, but
I wonder if that is a fallout from
I think it almost definitely got to be. He's a liability. Dorsey doesn't bring anything really that good to the table. He goes on like to India and act like he's meditating, and then it's like, well, he also in 5 new pictures with right wingers. So
yeah. Jonathan Armstead. Each time you bring up Larry Murphy, I think of Larry Miller, the comic actor and dad in 10 Things I Hate About You. He went on full on supporting the war in Iraq after 9/11. Famously argued about it with Tim Robbins and Michael Moore on Politically Incorrect. Did you ever interact with him? I never did. No. I mean, I think I met him once, when he came up to Boston to do stand-up, but it was probably like, hey, how you doing? That's it. Live free and die to the best. Left his bets. Hats fit better. That's a spurious charge. Left of the box. For people going to a live show, check out the Boston Live Show channel on the MR Discord. Chat with others going, and you can arrange meetups or recommend things to do there.
Ooh.
Good call, Sandy. Appreciate that. Chris Burdick. So is Benjamin going to get the VIP treatment or just the P treatment? Forgive me if someone's already asked this, but whatever became of the Cernovich documentary that Matthew Film Guy was going to put together? That's a good question, actually. Sort of fell apart because Cernovich no longer became sort of relevant. He just completely, after the thing with me, I think he was in a bit of a panic. And people might forget this, but he got this dossier of information about Chuck Schumer or some type of like Chuck Schumer thing. And I think somebody rat-effed him. And he was so desperate. I think he went with this stuff and it was completely fabricated, but he pushed it out there. And it was something, I can't remember, some charge about, trying to Me Too Chuck Schumer. And I will say this about Chuck Schumer. Like, of all of Chuck Schumer's problems, I don't think that's it. And it blew up in his face. And I think he became toxic even as a guy who could pass information through. And he got vaporwared.
Who was the guy who, and now I'm like totally blanking on the name, who did did that press conference on Elizabeth? Was it Cernovich also? The Elizabeth Warren as a secret BDSM. I
don't know about that.
Wait, guys, what was that?
Jack Bergman. Oh, that. Right, those guys. Was that Jacob Wall and
Jacob
those guys?
Wall? Yeah, right. He's pretty much done, right? Too.
Yeah, I think he was like looking at.
He was trying to be Cernovich.
Prison time.
I don't know how they escaped prison time.
I don't know how that happened.
Well, yeah.
Let's see. Affluent wretchedness. May my husband have a shofar for the job offer he's accepting this week. He'll be leaving a workplace with a coworker who listens to right-wing talk radio for several hours a day and two bosses who think fetal personhood is a cool idea. So this is a much-needed move. Happy Hanukkah and happy Cernovich Day. See you all at the big live.
Whoa.
Come shower with Crowder. Dude, David Packman's studio address is on the Discord. We got to get that off if that's true. I don't know if that's true.
Don't do that, guys.
Can we get the mods on that maybe?
Freddie from Framingham. Shofar for Freddie. Hey, Sam, can I get a... oh, geez. Okay. Hi, Sam. Can I get a shofar for my husband, Freddie? He's a Majority Report super fan and will be attending the January Boston show front row. He's having he's having heart surgery today, and I know he would be wicked psyched if he got a shofar. Thank you so much. Left his best. Freddie, this is for you. Wicked Pissa. Do well on your surgery. We got to talk about what's going on with Biden's popularity. I just had this really interesting conversation with my aunt. Well, it's not. I don't want to overstate it.
Okay.
But she has always voted Republican, and they are basically like, I don't know. They don't want their taxes to go up, type of Republican. But they also are Fox. They watch Fox News.
Mm-hmm. Are they New England Republicans?
Yep. But like the
New England
the Scott
Republicans
Brown
are different than the rest of
but they still, Scott Brown is, they still buy all the negative stuff about Democrats. It's just they could vote against Trump. And I mean, she hates Trump. She's like, and I said, she said to me on the phone, she goes, it's all the Republicans who refuse to take the vaccine. It's mostly Republican. I was very surprised because I thought, like, I've been working on it for years. Like, I mean, I remember, her husband was a car dealer at the time. And I remember telling my dad on the phone, like, tell Uncle Eddie we're not going to buy cars from them if they vote for Nixon back in 72. It's just dating myself. But she said, the Republicans are idiots. They won't do this. And I said, what do people think about DeSantis down there? And she said, well, all my friends think that he's an idiot. And and she's like, and it's funny to hear like does he just love Trump? Why does he do this? Does he just love Trump? And I think she literally meant like, is he just like a big Trump fan? And I'm like, no, it's all the voters. Trump is a reflection of the Republican voters.
Yeah. I wonder if her friends would just, like, they may think he's an idiot, but still vote for him anyway.
For DeSantis?
Yeah.
I don't think so. But she did say this. She goes, I'm afraid Trump's going to win in 2024. And I said, yeah, I don't think that's a completely unfounded fear. She goes, Joe Biden's just not up to the job. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what? Like, what? Like, you know, she's not complaining like he's not canceling college debt.
I heard the same stuff, you know.
And I didn't get into it too much because I know I've done this before. Like, what does that mean? Well, he just doesn't seem like he's up to the job. The economy is booming. I mean, and particularly like for her, right? Like, she's not worried that we're not doing enough for house people. I mean, this is like the type of voter who it's like, I'm just curious, like, what does this even mean to you? Because if I told you the stock market was up, that GDP was up, that joblessness is down, that more people have jobs, you would, and it was, I don't know, George Bush, you'd be like, the economy's booming. But yet the right-wing talking points have like convinced her that Joe Biden's not up to the job. And it has nothing to do with the complaints that we would have about Joe Biden.
No. It has to do with his competence, which is fed into by the fact that he's basically invisible and also, sometimes like slurs his words and stuff. I mean, they're trying to basically make a competency. He's too old. He doesn't have control of this claim.
And
for some people, it's working.
And I think honestly, part of the problem is just like all of the dilly-dallying that he caused with the Build Back Better bill by inviting Republicans into the process. Just get it done. Much better for these people to say, Joe Biden's out of control. He's an authority, he doesn't, it's my way or the highway. That's the critique that you want if you're Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. He's just getting stuff done without consulting Republicans would have been the best type of critique he had. Instead of like, it's taken them, 9 months to get to maybe we're going to have a vote on my signature issue.
So much of maybe what we're zeroing in on is that there's a lot of voters that just want the president to project strength and want to feel like America's in a good position. And if they don't feel that way, they're just going to take it out on the president. And them feeling that way is so like influenced by just whatever the consensus is.
They're going to do that. But my point is what you have to do, I think, is you have to be on the offense to prevent, because you cannot defend against that.
I agree.
Exactly.
I agree. But that's
just
Biden.
Just a report on the David Pakman studio address on the Discord. Come showered her with Crowder says that was a joke. Sorry. Thought it was clear.
Oh, okay.
Not quite sure what the joke construction was there.
The joke is probably right that we were going to go storm the studio. And so for people to find stuff to do in Boston on the Discord.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
I think you're probably right.
There was no construction, but that's the idea.
So here is Fox News. This is an amazing theory that they have on the weekend. On the weekend, things get a little crazy. I watch clips of Will Cain and Hegseth and Rachel Campos Duffy, and all I can think of is like, Will Cain, my God, have you absolutely zero self-esteem? I mean, I knew this dude on CNN, and he was a Republican, but he's just a rational guy. And now it's just like, he is it's really, it just blows my mind to see people who are just sort of nakedly just like, I'm playing a role. Like, wait, dude, this is like an acting gig for him. And it really is just sort of stunning. But here it is.
Pete Buttigieg, our transportation secretary, is potentially our new president in 2024, or so the Democrats want, has said we can't fix the supply chain problem until the pandemic is over, until COVID is over, and now we see these new variants. So that's the answer: is more lockdowns, more fear, and therefore he doesn't have to do his job of fixing the supply chain because we'll just keep this whole thing going.
It's always a new variant.
And you'll count on a variant about every October, every 2 years.
Oh, I think it's going to, yep. You're probably right.
I mean, however...
They could speed up. The variants could come more quickly. And
we're going to need a new variant here.
My gosh.
Psychopaths. I mean, first off, everything they said was just the stupidest of the stupid, right? Like, let's just get that out of the way. Obviously, they're idiots. But the disinformation also they're putting out there, like the variants are actually, the idea that the supply chain is just a function of the United States is just absurd, right? Like, and we don't make anything.
We are the world, Sam. So that's the only way.
There is a legitimate critique of like, you know what? We should be making more stuff here. And it'll be more expensive, but we should be making more stuff here, both for the help it would bring to U.S. workers and that we wouldn't rely on stuff that is being manufactured around the world.
And there's a climate change.
And the climate change, et cetera, et cetera. Now, that's not a critique of Joe Biden, so they won't say that.
That's a critique of global capitalism.
No, I was talking to a family member of mine about the supply chain stuff over Thanksgiving, and like all the computer chips made in Taiwan, right? We have this entire like supposed performative fear of China and war with China. Well, I mean, all China has to do is take Taiwan, and we don't have computer chips.
Right.
Right? So like, I'm not saying we should like do that because we're afraid of Taiwan or China. It's just that we should have that capacity.
Well, it also would be nice because it's not like just your family is aware that if we lost access to Taiwanese computer chips that we'd be in trouble.
My family's not spies. They're
right. Exactly. And so that is driving some of our foreign policy without a doubt. And, again, if we make them here, it means that we have less reason to be aggressive on other aspects, in other sort of facets of our relationship. But the idea that
they don't want that, by the way. Biden is pushing for a Cold War posture with China.
Without a doubt.
I digress.
Without a doubt. But then the other aspect of this is that they're talking about the variants as if they're just simply created.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just more COVID denial.
How about the
taking out of Fauci's cabinet?
Right. How about the weird accusation that a new variant would be good politically for Joe Biden?
They're doing it so that they don't have to fix the supply chain.
Makes sense.
Yep. That makes total sense. It really is amazing. Let's think. They're both stupid and just horrible.
And like the whole, like they're also going to fort Pete Buttigieg down your throat sort of thing too.
Exactly.
Well,
I will tell you something. There will be no greater phrase deployed by them than they're shoving Pete Buttigieg down your throat. I mean, it just captures everything. If there is a way, if there was any type of clearinghouse to bet on the most used phrase in the coming years,
try to get on the blockchain every time somebody says
shoving Pete Buttigieg down your throat is going to be like way up there.
You need to copyright it. Make it a domain name, and then Fox News will be like, damn it.
Damn it.
Thwarted again.
Honestly, I mean...
By Seder.
I honestly feel like if there's people out there who are trying to find like a side hustle, you could do a lot worse than stop shoving Pete Buttigieg down my throat t-shirts. Colin from a 277 area code? Wait, I'm not even in there. Hold on. That's weird. Thought I was. Calling from a 277 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, my name is David. I'm actually calling from South Africa. Thanks for taking my call. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Omicron variant and what's been happening to South Africa with us getting essentially sanctioned by the whole world.
Yep.
In spite of the fact that we essentially have a really, really good infrastructure sorry, I'm a little bit nervous my first time calling it.
No, and what you're about to say is incredibly important. And we actually had a clip that we were just about to play too about this. So continue.
Yeah. So just for context, I work in a nonprofit organization in South Africa called COVID Comms. So I literally work in this space all day, and it's the effect that this is having on both our ability to deal with vaccine hesitancy in South Africa is quite enormous. So there's this whole perception that we get, frankly, it comes a bit from US misinformation that comes here. There's a large group of sort of evangelical missionaries which push anti-abortion stuff, but at the same time they push like kind of anti-vax sentiments and things like that. And a lot of what we're having to do to try and deal with anti-vax hesitancy in South Africa is deal with trust issues. But by having sort of this massive thing where our economy is now going to get hit, two of our biggest cities, Durban and Cape Town, require sort of tourism for an enormous amount of its economy, and they're not going to get that income this year, this season. And it happened last year because of the beta variant. And okay, you had Trump then, so we could sort of say, fine, the bad guys running America, lots of comments I might have there, but right now, in theory, it's the good guys, right? It's the Democrats. But then it seems like cheap political points to just sanction us again for doing what we're supposed to do. And sorry, the last one before I stop for a second is, I think we're having less than 200 cases a month. What are the chances that a country with less than 200 cases a month is going to have this scary variant develop, whereas a country which is having tens of thousands of cases, 200 cases a day, my apologies, whereas a country which is having tens of thousands of cases a day is going to develop a scary variant.
Yeah, I saw Ramaphosa, the South African president, speaking out about this essentially, right? Like, this is a way for these, it's not just the United States that's restricting travel from South Africa now, and then from the African continent in general. It's a bunch of these other like Western countries, essentially. And it's a way for them to score political points domestically, while not doing actually anything substantive, which the only answer is to waive vaccine IP, because South Africa certainly has the capacity to manufacture it.
All right, I just want to go through a couple of things with you. First off, that I think that people have to understand, that I think is implicit in your comments, is that South Africa is far more effective in assessing the presence of a new variant than, let's say, the United States is, because we don't do any tracking. We barely do any tracing. We have a completely effed up healthcare system that doesn't plug anything into some type of central database. And there's a ton of epidemiologists in South Africa. I don't know if the ratio of epidemiologists to actual citizens is significantly higher than anywhere else in the world, but it's pretty close, is my understanding. And it just happens to be, this is about detection, not the development of a variant. It just so happens that it's detected there, and it's the first place. So, and everybody's pretending as if it's like emanating out of South Africa, as opposed to coming from somewhere else that passed through South Africa. A and B. Yeah. Talk about the vaccine hesitancy for a moment. My understanding is that you're about 35% vaccinated. How much of this is a function? But I know, like in August at one point, the EU insisted upon your J&J shots being sent back to the EU. How much of this is a function of hesitancy? What drives that hesitancy? What group of people are the most hesitant, and why?
Well, there's a lot of different answers there. Like I said, I work in the MPO, which actually does work on this. We were basically set up because there was a big essentially our government struggled with some communications at first, in part because of corruption. And so where the vaccine hesitancy comes from is multifaceted. One of the big ones is actually government corruption and distrust in government. So we had something called a PPE scandal, prophylactic protective equipment, where a bunch of sort of corporations and sort of criminal enterprises literally just stole the money that was put aside for cleaning schools, for providing masks to low-income spaces, to essentially reopen the economy. So there's inherently this thing that, oh, this is a whole big conspiracy set up so that government could just loot money. In terms of demographically, we in South Africa, there's two really big sort of causes of hesitancy. One is to do with reproductive health and sexual health. So there's a fear among men that the vaccine will cause impotence, which tragically, you're actually more likely to have impotence-related issues from having a severe case of COVID and long COVID, but irrespective. And the other big one is religious. And this is where we get particularly that American influence. So, the mark of the beast sort of thing is very common here. That sort of thing is really present, and like huge resources are going in to try and deal with that. Talking of that J&J thing, we really actually got enough supply to start supplying everyone with vaccines, and we're a wealthier country, right? We're not like we're better off than most of the rest of the continent.
Right.
Variety of reasons for that. Won't get into it, but we're better off. We have more money, so we were able to buy the vaccine supply. We weren't able to buy enough vaccines to vaccinate ourselves until like August. Prior to that, there just wasn't enough supply. So now we have enough supply, but we're really having to work incredibly hard. The organization I work for, we're sort of doing a lot of workshops in youth communities at the moment and answering like really basic questions. We had a mother at one of our workshops recently say, so it's typically men, but you also do have women who are vaccine hesitant. And she said, the fear she has is that, let's say she gets pregnant and this vaccine causes issues with her child. Then 3 or 4 years down the road, her kids, 5-10 years down the road, her kids in school struggling, etc. And they say, no, it's because you had something to drink while you were pregnant, rather than a situation in which it could have been the vaccine. So once again, distrust. And tragically, this is literally just going to feed into it. It's that, oh, you want to keep us suppressed. There's also sort of so in South Africa, white people make up about 7% of the population. And in spite of the fact that apartheid is long behind us, I could assure you certain racist sentiments aren't. And a lot of this will be used to say, oh, the government is trying to undermine us, et cetera, and be used for political means as well. So there's like a variety of different conspiracy theories that this sort of feeds into. And then you now couple that with the huge economic damage it's going to do. Like, people will die because of sort of mental health issues related to poverty, their businesses going under. One of my brothers works in the construction industry. They build hotels. When are we going to start building and refurbishing hotels again if we're not having any tourists? So, yeah, it's sort of multifaceted. But I hope that answers that question.
It does. You said 7% white. Does the white population, to the extent, I mean, I don't know if the numbers are big enough. Does the white population have the same hesitancy as the black population? Or I don't know if 7% is really enough to make that assessment.
Yeah, no, it is. So when we were looking originally at stuff, white men were pretty much the worst vaccine hesitant group in the country. Originally, I don't know if that's still the case now. That's not a big deal because it's 3% of the population, and genuinely our wealth disparity is very much along racial lines.
Right.
So these are people with means, right? So they can afford to go to a private hospital. They don't have to go to the government hospitals. Not that the government hospitals don't do a good job in this scenario. In some places, it's complicated, but yeah. So it's not a big issue for us to look at the white male specifically, in spite of the fact that they tend to be quite a significant group of anti-vaxxers.
Well, I appreciate the call. What was your name again?
David.
David.
Thanks for having me.
David, thanks for the call.
Thanks, David.
Thanks. Bye.
Apropos of that call from South Africa, do we have that? Where is it with Puro? What? Oh yeah, here it is.
Talk about the nuts on the weekend at Fox.
Exactly.
Right.
Lara Logan, who is a couple of cards shy of a deck. And Judge Janine Pirro, who this is like the Saturday brunch mimosa hour.
Oh, come on, mimosa. She doesn't go for that. She goes for the straight up martini to the face, multiple, and then
here is.
Just kidding. I don't know that for a fact.
Here again is is this the one where she complains about the naming of it that I sent? Bradley, get that one, please. Let's do. Because this is. It's like these people are children. It's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable that they walk off the set and go like, "We really helped out today with this whole pandemic thing."
Yeah. They probably don't even do that though.
Pop it up.
Well, you know what, Larry, you know what strikes me, that this Omicron, instead of calling it the South Africa virus, they took weeks to figure out a new name so nobody could say it's the virus from the variant from South Africa. Isn't it interesting that they decided to name it this before we even heard about it?
I'm trying to figure out, and we'll play the other clip in a second, Bradley, but I'm trying to figure out, like, what is it? Why? Like, she's basically saying, like, they don't want us to blame the black people for the variant. Now, aside from everything we just heard, where it's more than likely the variant did not originate in South Africa, but even if it did, like, it's just the luck of the draw. But it is not the luck of the draw that it was found in South Africa, because that is a function of the government putting resources into tracing and analyzing these things in a way that ultimately protects everybody. Everybody. Because if it's not found in South Africa, it means that it's probably, and it's already in 10, 12 different countries. It could be anywhere if they don't find it, or if they don't report it that it's found. If this turns out to be bad, we're going to be thanking South Africa for letting us know about it beforehand so that there's some time for preparation. But the idea that, like, they don't want to, like the Spanish flu, it started in Kansas. It just so happens that they in Spain, they were like, hey, wait a second, there's a flu here. And so all of a sudden it becomes the Spanish flu.
It could very well be the U.S. variant. We just don't have that. We don't know, right? Like New York State now, there's almost 10% test positivity rate in some areas because they think Omicron is here already.
Whoa, we don't need to less testing that way.
But then she'd call it the New York variant.
Look at what happened to the markets. You imagine what people with money felt about South Africa's advanced capabilities to find new variants. Look at what Hexa thought. Like, punishing them, there's a lot of people that want to punish them because they'd rather not know.
Yep. Play the other clip with these lunatics.
Judge, if they keep testing for different strains of coronavirus, we're going to be locked down for the rest of our existence. I had cancer. My oncologist is a specialist in bone cancer. And every oncologist who deals with bone cancer identifies hundreds of coronaviruses inside of our bones. They've created a problem that can never actually be solved. So they can justify whatever it is they want to do. And if you look around you, everything is falling apart. Even the vote audits are going ahead. Durham is moving ahead. Over time, people can see that the vaccines have nothing to do with Trump or left or right. Many black people don't want to get vaccinated. Okay. You cannot justify losing 3,000 to 5,000 Border Patrol agents, 12,000 pilots, for something that has the death rate of flu. And even if this is lethal, Americans have the right under the Constitution to their civil liberties, and they can only be suspended temporarily for it to be lawful. This is not lawful.
Let me go to Dr. Siegel.
I love the fact that Janine Pirro is in like,
yeah, right. This is too crazy even for my show.
Exactly. I mean, there's so much just insanity in that rant of hers. The idea that this searching for different variants of COVID is just a way to, I guess, to continue to, do
whatever they want to do.
Get rid of Custom and Border Patrol.
I don't know, like use Title 42 in order to keep people lawfully seeking asylum out of the country, something like that.
It's insane. It's insane. And I got news for you. She's boosted.
Yeah.
You know her doctor said, look, you're a cancer patient. You are in real danger of if you catch COVID. I love the idea that Jean Pirro had a guest on who was crazy enough that she had to be almost cut her mic off. That's
don't make the direct comparisons to the flu anymore. That gets us in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Calling from a 509 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, my name is Alexis.
Hello, Alexis.
And
where are you calling from?
Hi. I'm calling from the unceded territory of the Spokane tribe.
Okay. Fantastic.
So I'm just going to let you guys know that I am extremely exhausted this morning. I had a very long weekend at work, and that's what I wanted to call in about. And I'm going to read something that I wrote previously since my brain is just so done.
Okay.
I am a biracial indigenous activist, organizer, water protector, and mother. I've been doing grassroots community work since I visited Standing Rock in 2016. I am also now a now former employee at the Spokane Comedy Club in Spokane, Washington. I've seen your guys' coverage of our right-wing sheriff, Ozzie Knezovich, and I really appreciate you guys covering that. I do some accountability work in that regard as well. So I thought you guys were the perfect organization to reach out to let you know about another bout of blatant fascism in our city. This experience was beyond any other I've seen in real life. I have worked at this club for 3 years, so I've seen hundreds of styles of comedy shows. I've heard the nastiest speech available. I've laughed at a lot of it. I've never before heard such vile and deeply disturbing content as the utter garbage that J.P. Sears was saying at all 9 of his sold-out shows this weekend. He spoke to approximately 2,700 people just in Spokane in this one weekend. He travels around the nation putting on the same shows every weekend. He's reaching a large platform and, in my opinion, is an under the radar as a far-right leader. I have access to recordings of this, and the things that he's saying are openly fascist. He discusses, and I'm just going to give a trigger warnings because it's very violent and disturbing. It's so disturbing that I'm having a hard time eating and sleeping. So he openly talks about...
This message is for this. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's okay. So he openly talks about killing trans people. He openly talks about hating people for having black skin. He talks about an upcoming civil war and wanting to shoot people. He talked about nuking Seattle and Portland. He talked about election fraud. There's more, but again, my brain is so tired from being processed through all of this garbage and the atrocious behavior of his audience.
Well, I should also just say I'm researching him a little. He has also promoted COVID-19 conspiracies, anti-mask guidelines, and claimed that vitamin D provides protection against COVID. So,
and he's got a big YouTube channel. I've never heard of this guy, but he's got a big YouTube channel. He's got almost 2.1 million subscribers, and he's getting hundreds of thousands of views on things like, is the left normalizing pedophiles? The Kyle Rittenhouse case, 7 things you should know.
And it says he's connected to the wellness community. Like, this is a little bit of, it seems to, is he satirizing wellness? Or is he?
That's how he started out. I saw him a few years ago, and his comedy has completely shifted into fascism.
Okay.
So he started out satirizing the wellness, like making fun of the kind of hippie culture. And it really didn't bother me when he was doing that kind of set. But it has completely shifted. He's openly telling people not to wear masks. Oh my God, he compared getting the vaccine to being raped because he said it is the same thing because it's a phallic object being inserted into your body without your permission. That's literally what he said.
That's
so. My next question is, how can I get all of that data to you? Because I tried to attach it to an email. I have videos and audio files, and I was.
Are you still there?
Yes.
You cut out for a minute. I mean, I don't know what. I don't know exactly what we can do it, but send us an email and we can, figure out some way for you to upload it to a Dropbox or something like that. I mean, I don't know what we can really do with it. Did people complain from the comedy club?
The staff, yes. The staff was extremely uncomfortable. We have several members of the staff that are the subjects of the I don't even want to call it comedy. It's not. It's inciting violence.
And is there, I mean, did you guys, did anybody else walk off with you? Or did anybody else, were you fired?
I was not fired. I quit.
And did anybody else quit with you?
We've had, let's see, 3 others that recently quit because of the trend of who's being booked.
I noticed that actually. As I'm looking at that, there's a lot of maybe sometimes it's a coincidence, but you got, I know some of these, like the naughty list, I can imagine, but who is it? There was a couple of people on this list that sort of, Callan, Corolla.
Yeah.
Michael
yeah.
Rappaport.
So I did stay for this weekend because I wanted to capture the
audio.
Audio and video.
Are there others that have quit?
Yes, there are.
I mean,
most of the original staff that I started with 3 years ago, most of them are gone.
I mean, have you thought about going to the Stranger? I don't know
I'm not sure what that is.
Isn't that the media out there?
Yeah, it's a Northwest thing. Is that Dan Savage?
Yeah.
It might. I mean, to Matt's. I mean, to Sam's point, I
don't know if Spokane,
the local paper would probably have more. That definitely send it to us, but it could be. Have a lot more impact.
Like always happens when this is the first time we've heard of this guy. I've never heard of him before. But there was the first time I heard of Jordan Peterson for the first time too.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So. That's why I wanted to let you guys know, because I feel like no one's watching him, but he has a large platform.
Yeah, I'm shocked, to be honest with you. I mean,
and the things that he's saying what Tucker Carlson wants to say. If he dropped the dog whistles, he's just outright saying it. And the audience is cheering.
Well, this is what I would do.
It's a rally.
Send us an email, and send us an email. We'll figure out a way to get some of that material. But in the meantime, you should also you should also just let the press know that if the comedy club is not responding to the people who are working there, right?
No, they're not. They're not responding.
And, this is, there's 2 different ways of looking at this. I mean, it's like, I can conceive of a place where this guy goes and nobody's offended, and, he's not pumping out this stuff, and the people who work there are all excited to have, whatever it is, COVID denial and, horrible things about trans people being said. And I don't know what you do in that situation, but when you have a situation where, let's put it this way, you wouldn't be able to force your employees to say there are people pinching pinching me when I'm working there. And the employee could say oh, you got a problem with that, you got to go. There are other things that people are doing that are putting me, if not in jeopardy, making me feel very, very, very uncomfortable. And it's a little bit scary to hear this type of talk in this situation, and maybe feeling like you don't know what the audience is going to do after this.
Yeah.
I think you should.
It was terrifying.
Try and find somebody who writes about this stuff in either the local paper or The Stranger. I imagine there's some stories. And maybe if there's another employee who has left because of this, make it a story. I mean, this is a commercial enterprise, and they should, there's a certain amount of like commercial, there's a commercial, accountability. If they want to associate themselves with this, if they're proud about it, then they won't care. But if they, if they realize like, oh, wait a second, this is going to hurt our bottom line because, then maybe you'll see some type of accountability, or at least you'll get the ball moving. I mean, this isn't going to be, there's nothing you can do from one club in this one instance that's going to materially impact this guy. But
you know who might be interested in writing?
They own 7 clubs, I believe.
You know who might be interested in writing about this is Owen Higgins.
Owen Higgins.
It's spelled E.
Send us an email,
but
and
he has a signal. You can text him there.
We'll send us an email, and we will try and connect you
on his Twitter, or send us an email too. Yeah.
All right, that sounds good. I already sent you an email. I appreciate you taking my call, and I just wanted people to keep an eye on him because, yikes.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine. What the world doesn't need is another Steven Crowder.
No, we really don't, and it's worse because he's just straight out saying all of it.
Appreciate the call. Hang in there.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Sort of related to that, after being in North Dakota for a while, we have this talk in media as if the people who are pro-mask and pro-vaccines are too minatory and, I guess, forceful of the other people. But I think in the vast majority of this country, it's people who want to get vaccinated and are afraid. People are afraid to wear masks. Like my parents are afraid to wear masks in a certain place in North Dakota because of the way you get looked at. Yeah. And it is not the other way around. Okay. Like that guy got punched at like a diner because he wouldn't leave after being required with a mask. But like the actual, like you could get some unwanted attention if you wear masks in certain parts of this country.
Show me the protest that has like where you have like people yelling at and scaring like people who work on the school board because they haven't been aggressive enough in putting masks. Where are the mass protests against like what DeSantis is doing? I mean, let's be honest which way this goes here. I mean, certainly there's no doubt you weren't wearing a mask during the height of this stuff. And certainly when I go into a place, when I go into like a pizza place or a hardware store or wherever it is, sometimes I'm the only person wearing a mask. But if I go in there and, I look at people and I'm like, really? The pandemic's over for you guys?
Yeah.
I don't say that. But if but
I just don't understand if you're I just don't understand in a place of business. Like I understand like you're out to dinner, you don't put your mask on, or you're at the gym or something like that. Okay. But the idea that I would be walking around a CVS and not wear a mask at this point, it blows my mind. But anyway.
That guy, we gotta look into that.
Dude. I really do think that Owen would be interested. I mean,
we'll forward it to him.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, here's Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves really just pushing like this. Look, there is a decent amount of data. Lancet had a study at the end of October. Obviously, this stuff changes with different variants. And obviously, this stuff is not, has yet to be fully vetted. But if you want to find studies that show vaccination inhibits the communication of at least the Delta variant, they're there. We do know that vaccination inhibits your ability to get infected, which means that you have less of a chance of passing it on. We also know, it's indisputable, that the vaccine inhibits the severity of COVID. We also know that boosters, there was I saw a graph about a booster that was nuts. It showed the incidence of, oh, here it is. Here, yeah, pop this up. It showed the incidence of what happens after the boosters come in for people in 80 plus and between the ages of basically 70 plus. It's right there. Pop this up on the screen. Put the first one. And what this is showing, okay, is go back. So what this is showing is you can see, it's a little bit hard for me to see, but you see the primary doses and AstraZeneca, and then you see the primary doses of Pfizer and Moderna. You see what happens after dose 3 is administered in terms of the numbers of the estimated
risk of
testing positive.
Yeah.
Okay.
For Delta.
And look at it. It plummets after the third shot. Plummets. Now, it plummeted after the second shot too. But you got a 6-month gap and it starts to slowly go up. Then it plummets again. But this plummets below where it was after the second shot. Now go down to that next chart. And we'll source this. This is from the UK. This is from the UK vaccine surveillance. Look at those 2 red lines, right? Those 2 red lines shows the change in apparent vaccine case effectiveness since the first week. The effectiveness goes shooting through the roof after they get that booster. Is it sustainable? We don't know. But these are realities. Now play this clip. Now, to be fair, this didn't come out until, this is November 18th. So to be fair to Chuck Todd, it's possible that nobody at MSNBC has Twitter. But that is
quite possible.
Here is Chuck Todd interviewing Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves just this Sunday.
Abortions is vaccines allow you to protect yourself. Abortions actually go in and kill other American babies. And let's just put this in perspective.
But Governor, vaccines are not about yourself. Governor, hang on a minute. A vaccine is about protecting a larger community. A vaccine is about preventing spread. You could argue a vaccine mandate is a pro-life position.
You could certainly argue that, Chuck, but even if you listen to Dr. Fauci's interview with you earlier today, he made it very clear that the vaccine may not keep you from getting the virus. It may not keep you from spreading the virus, but it can keep you from ending up in the hospital. That's what's been proven during this Delta surge that we've seen in America, is that the virus is continuing to being spread even amongst those who are vaccinated. Conversely, when you're talking about the pro-life position of protecting unborn babies, let's put it also in perspective. The fact is that during this very horrible and challenging time since I was sworn into office in January of 2020, we've had 800,000 American lives lost because of COVID. And my heart aches for every single one of those individuals that has died because of COVID. Over 10,000 Mississippians. My heart breaks for every single one of them. But since Roe was enacted, 62 million American babies have been aborted and have therefore been killed. And that's why I think it's very important that people like myself and others across this country stand up for those unborn children, because they don't have the ability to stand up for themselves.
Governor Tate Reeves, Republican of Mississippi, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your perspective with us, sir.
Oh, well, we had a break.
I don't have to support vaccines because abortion's legal.
Yeah, I mean, Todd really needed to interject when he was making those false claims about the protection that the vaccine provides.
And
they hide the
even
ball.
just to get into any type
Yeah.
of like framing like that is just also just absurd. It's just it's utterly absurd. There is no. This is not. Well, on one hand, you don't like the vaccine mandate. On the other hand, you want to mandate forced pregnancy for people. Forced births. Man, it's tough to look at this stuff and not just sort of like respond with every video of like, man, we're fucked.
Yep. Well, so we're gonna slip into nihilism. It's after 2, so that's usually the time when all the content from
overwhelms
the show,
us.
Well, just like that's when the dose starts to hit.
Hey,
no pun intended.
Hey, this is good news. We are back in the export business. America is back.
Back, baby.
We are exporting all sorts of things. In fact, Josh Hawley has recently developed a new product, which of course is exactly an old product. You get this every 20 years with the conservative movement, the feminization of America, the attack on men. The left is responsible for societal ills. I'm so old. I remember when Rick Santorum said that the church's pedophilia scandal in Boston was a function of all the loose sexual mores that exist in Boston. Spoken like someone, which is like one of those things like, say you know nothing about the sexual mores in Boston by without saying
There's Sodom, Gomorrah, and Boston.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. In fact, maybe we'll dig this up for members. I ended up calling the Santorum office to ask if he had a list of specifically of the sluts living in Boston, because I thought that I might have caught chlamydia from somebody there, but that's a different story.
That's hilarious.
We will maybe we'll play that audio if we can find it at one point. But the Josh Hawley thing that we saw last week, his speech and then his subsequent interview on whatever that Axios TV show was.
And you weren't even here for it, but he did a podcast with his wife.
Yeah, you got to do it. Like, why men are getting soft because of liberal policies. Well, we've managed to export it. Sorry to our friends in England. This is our fault. Here is the British Conservative Member of Parliament, Nick Fletcher, explaining the assault on men.
Everywhere, not at least within the cultural sphere, there seems to be a call from a tiny yet very vocal minority that every male character or good role model must have a female replacement. One only needs to look at the discussion surrounding who will play the next James Bond. And it's not just James Bond. In recent years, we have seen Doctor Who, Ghostbusters, Luke Skywalker, The Equalizer, all replaced by women. And men are left with the Krays and Tommy Shelby. Is there any wonder we are seeing so many young men committing crime?
What?
Well, the only thing that I guess prevents young men from committing crime is their need to be at the center of every cultural space.
We have no role model. We never ever see any heroes who are men.
Yeah, I didn't start smoking weed until female Ghostbusters came out.
Well, because you were just like, what's the point? If men can't be Ghostbusters, I might as well just get high all the time.
What's the point? If Ghostbusters isn't exclusive to me and my gender, then this is a problem.
They're going to replace James Bond with Janet Bond.
Like how he says, especially in the cultural sphere. Like, can you apply this to any other sphere? Like where we're seeing the need for like,
and also you can barely apply it to the cultural sphere. Like you only notice it because there's so many male heroes.
Why do we have a female queen? Why shouldn't we? Why don't we just keep it at kings?
It should be. Well, but she's like antecedent, right? I mean, I should say like tangential. I mean, come on.
But that was already a slippage, is what I'm saying.
But the point too there is like for Nick Fletcher, you said, couldn't you apply it to anything outside the cultural sphere? Could he even apply it to his to the parliament?
That's the best part. You just hear a bunch of men going, yeah, right, yes, exactly.
We're all being replaced by POC women.
It's true, very true.
Indubitably.
The House of Lords.
Without a doubt. Right.
Here.
All men. Oh, man.
Rhubarb.
Yes, here we are. Everyone. Completely.
Completely.
It doesn't even occur to him to look around and go like, holy shit, there's no women here. Wait, what?
I mean, we had all these good role models in the A-team, and look what crime rates were back then.
That's true. That's true.
Mr. T ensured that we didn't have terrorism. You don't understand.
One more call. Calling from a 618 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling?
Hey, this is Roy from the country.
Roy from the country.
Indeed. Yeah. Well, I appreciate your discretion. I am a attorney who does a lot of housing law in a rural setting. I do a lot of pro bono work, and I kind of wanted to answer any questions you guys may have about that, but then sort of also to address two specific issues. One would be the sort of administrative nonsense that's going on with the eviction crisis right now and how convoluted that is, at least in a rural setting, and also some of the practical application of the law, especially in rural settings as it relates to housing, which is not going great.
Why don't you tell us that? Because I have a feeling I may have gotten an email or two along these lines, and I don't have it right in front of me at the moment. So what are you experiencing in this regard in terms of evictions?
Sure. So just to preface, I live in a very conservative area, very rural. Those two things tend to go together. The primary issue that I have, or that I have experienced, is that we are, especially in, the more conservative the district, we are having difficulty with courts applying the law to the facts in a non-politicized fashion. For instance, I personally had a judge in my hearing tell me that the tenant who I was representing should have been evicted a long time ago because the eviction moratorium was unconstitutional. And so the landlord had been worked in injustice by not being able to evict the tenant at an earlier time.
Now, I want to highlight how problematic this is. I'm just going to assume that you were not in front of a Supreme Court justice.
I was not, no.
Right. And so this administrative judge, essentially, or I don't know, what level judge would this be? Just a county judge, maybe?
Yeah, it's just basically the base level circuit judge that you're going to run into in any ordinary kind of issue.
They don't have the ability to rule on the constitutionality of something like this. And the idea that they're expressing an opinion that none of this law should not have existed in the first place should be completely irrelevant to their decision. And if they had even the slightest bit of integrity, wouldn't mention that, because it's such a blatant predisposition. You can't say, I think this law is unjust, and therefore I'm going to even be even more punitive to you because it's unjust to the landlord. But what kind of recourse do you have at that point if you're the defendant?
So there is an additional wrinkle to this that I'm sure is just going to please your audience to just tickle them pink. In my particular area, the law regarding evictions requires what's called strict compliance, which means that there is no discretion for the judge to make any decision whatsoever. If there is a violation of the law, then the case can be dismissed. I say can be because most people take advantage of unrepresented people and just evict them on illegal leases and procedure, but that's beside the point. So if there is an error, the case has to be kicked out if someone asks for it to be kicked out. So in this particular instance that I'm relating to you, I did get a motion to dismiss on statutory legal grounds, and the judge hedged a lot and tried to avoid that. Now, what is the recourse in this situation? Unfortunately, the recourse is to set up the appeal so that way when or if the court happens to go against me on this, then I have to appeal it. That's the only option. Which, of course, brings up a whole layer of issues. And another issue is that in my jurisdiction, it is judicial discretion whether or not the court will stay an eviction order or grant it pending an appeal. So even if I go for the appeal, the defendant, the tenant, could still be kicked out of the house while we wait for the appeal to proceed.
So nuts. So nuts.
Totally nuts. Yeah.
And
totally nuts.
And how much of your experience do you think is consistent with the experience of other people going through these eviction processes? And do you have like any sense of like numbers, or are we just like, I mean, can we sew together some anecdotes here, or is there any data on this? I mean, I would imagine everything is so localized that it's hard to sort of get some type of national data on this for a while.
Well, yeah, I mean, for hard numbers, it's going to be a minute for people to kind of, test how many cases are going to court, test how successful they are, test what they're winning on. I can tell you right now that I just recently read an article that certain defenses that people have in evictions are being used a lot, but just the court is, well, I shouldn't say the courts, but this particular defense is being ignored frequently. Now, as far as anecdotal evidence is concerned, I am a member of a number of national email chains, and I'm pretty connected to the community around these issues, and it's a problem everywhere, as far as I can tell. All jurisdictions, different states. Now, each state and locality have different processes, of course, with minor variation, but to a large extent, landlords are charging full speed ahead. And basically, if there's no attorney getting slotted in to defend the tenant, there are probably a huge swath of people getting evicted on illegal grounds, either an illegal lease, not following the procedure properly. I'm sure you're aware you're not entitled to an attorney for civil issues. So, I mean, if you can't find a pro bono attorney or some other sort of low-income assistance, there's people all over the place just getting railroaded.
Where do people? And I would imagine, particularly in like areas where you're at, like there's no like pro bono type of organizations, are there?
There are. If you're facing an eviction, just look for any legal aid organization in your area will likely be able to help you. As far as I can tell from talking to legal aid attorneys, they're all on high alert and they're on the bleeding edge of this. So if, and there are legal aid agencies all over the country, depending on your population. San Diego, for instance, has, I think, 3 separate legal aid agencies just for San Diego County. So depending on how your population is, you will have access to an agency. Now, I know that in Northern Illinois, there's an organization called Prairie State Legal Institute, Prairie State Legal Services, and they cover the entire half of the state. So it really depends, the entire northern half of the state, and then Chicago Legal Aid covers Cook County alone. So it really depends on your region, but there are legal aid organizations out there that can help. So if you type legal aid and your area, you're more than likely not going to find something.
Okay, well, that's good. Appreciate this update on what's going on with this. It's a real...
Yep, no problem.
All right, appreciate it. I mean, this is the thing about and I think we're within, it's going to be a month or two where we start to see the real big numbers. I mean, I keep reading things about rumblings about how this eviction wave is really more like it's not coming in as a wave as much as it is like sort of like, I don't know, you've seen those images of like a tsunami where all of a sudden the water just sort of pours in, not necessarily in some type of like one dramatic fashion, but just sort of flows in. I think we're going to see a lot of evictions like this, particularly if you have a lot of judges out there in these areas who are like, we should have never had a moratorium in the first place.
Yeah.
And allowing that to implicate their decisions.
I missed that part of the call, but I would guess that there are a lot of judges out there who have like this incredible contempt for poor people that seeps through.
And the reality is too, is that you're a county judge. I don't know, like your buddies probably are landlords.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody at the club. as a landlord, you're playing golf with the judge. They're your landlords or buddies. Maybe you're a landlord.
Even here in New York, the eviction moratorium expires at the end of this year. So there's going to be a flood of evictions starting in 2022.
All right. I got time for one more caller. Calling from a 301 area code. We got people who have been hanging on for nearly 70 minutes. So you're calling from a 301 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hello, is this me?
Yep.
Hi, I'm surprised I got on. My name is EO, but I'm actually from Silver Spring, Maryland. I'm actually a long-time listener. I started watching you guys in college. I love the show.
Thanks, EO.
Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
You're doing great.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of criticize some of the reporting that's going on in Ethiopia. Yesterday there were, not yesterday, but last week, there were several rallies that were happening all over the world, basically around the No More movement. Sorry, and I thought it was I think a lot of people from the Silver Spring area, a lot of Ethiopians, I talked to a lot of them, I have a lot of cousins, family, they've been kind of really pissed at the reporting that's going on in kind of the mainstream media of kind of what's going on in Ethiopia.
Okay, so just to fill people in, okay? Ethiopia is at war with Tigray. And stop me when I'm wrong about any of this, because I know just the basic outlines. The Tigray is a region of Ethiopia. Up until very recently, the country was essentially ethnic Tigrayans, I guess. I don't know how, tended to run the country. And that changed in, I'm not sure, but not too long ago, when the majority of people voted, I guess, for folks from a different area of Ethiopia to run the country. And what ultimately happened was that Ethiopia and Eritrea, which have their own long history of ongoing war, decided that they were going to deal with Tigray. And I mean, is that basically correct? Broad strokes.
Yeah, I think you've kind of given a good summary of what's happened in the last probably 40 years or so of Ethiopian history and politics. But yeah, basically the kind of anger that I've seen in a lot of Ethiopians, at least within the DMV area, at least, comes from just some of the reporting that's going on, basically stating that kind of the I think I'll just continue from there. But basically the reporting saying that the current government is the one who kind of wanted this war and kind of started this war, when in fact it was kind of the opposite, given the fact that the first shots fired were from the TPLF. And I mean, definitely I think that on my end, and I think most people that I know, and they kind of want for peace talks and negotiations to start. But I think it's just mainly kind of some of the headlines that come out that just misreport things. And I think there's a kind of an agenda, at least what most people think, that there's an agenda because of the long reign of the previous government has kind of funneled crazy amounts of money into think tanks and things of that nature. And it's kind of just kind of opened the eyes of a lot of people, like even me, seeing that I never thought this would happen to we've seen this in countless countries, but it's just kind of
All right. Well, I'm curious as to what your take, but let me just also characterize my understanding of how the conflict became hotter. The federal government wanted to suspend elections, or I guess regional elections, because of COVID. And in Tigray, they ended up going ahead with their elections. I think it was just sort of like for the state or the region. And then the federal government cut funding for Tigray. And then Tigrayan forces attacked a federal outpost there, I think, like a military base, which was, part of the federal government. And that's where basically things started up in that situation.
Yeah.
And so
those are like the chain of events. Yep.
And you're saying that the coverage has been unfair to the federal Ethiopian government because of relationships that Tigrayan institutions had made with think tanks and press over the years that they were in control of Ethiopia.
Yes, that's a better way of stating what I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, I should just say, like, I hope people understand that I do not have a deep understanding of this. I know these broad outlines. I know enough to know that, to understand the context of your claims. I just don't know. I mean, I didn't understand the Ethiopian Eritrean conflict for so many years. In some respects, it seems like it's the flip side of this one. It's just that Eritrea and Ethiopia were the Tigrayans were running Ethiopia at that time. I mean, I don't know, but it's definitely, I think, something, we'll try and dig into more. I want to give you the opportunity to express your opinion about it. I imagine there may be some others who have a different perspective on it. I just wanted to say, like, I'm coming from a similar boat as you, to be honest, because I was actually born here and I kind of didn't follow a lot of what was going on over there. But, I try to stay pretty much like in the middle of things. Just try to listen to, politics. I started getting interested actually into kind of African politics, international politics from Michael, actually. Right.
He kind of opened the doors for me with Mr. Alamati. So I listened to a lot of, his videos, a lot of his kind of talks that he had on Michael's show. And, unfortunately, and I don't know if it's a, good point to say right now, but I just wanted to say, I did, Mr. Alamati did have a couple videos on this topic, and I didn't fully agree with what he was stating. It was just something that, everybody has only so much time to, to go into these types of topics. So, like, I can understand, where he's coming from, but at the same time, I just felt like, as I'm learning a little bit more about this and, trying to figure out.
Who else do you recommend that we read into, if not Alamati?
There was a YouTube channel actually that I started getting into. It's called Breakthrough News. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They brought in an individual. Her name is Hermela Aragawi. They're very left wing in international politics, I'd say. So I would say definitely check them out. There's a couple of other
Hermela Aragawi.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
She was actually also Tigrayan and kind of changed her opinion on this. So, but anyhow, I just want to say I love you guys. I'm really surprised to get on here.
Appreciate the call.
Thanks so much.
Yep. All right.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.
We had some great calls today.
Yeah, today was a wonderful call day. Everybody appreciate your inputs.
That ends the call-in portion of our program today. I'm sorry if you're one of the people who had to stay on hold for an extended period of time. You know how this goes. You saw how surprised EO was that he got on. It is, I wish we could do 6 hours a day. I wish that I had the ability to do 6 hours a day. I do not. Prairie Fire Kowalski. Happy birthday, Sam, and hello, Emma and our crew. In a quick agricultural news, the grain harvest is coming to an end for the Midwest. My farm finished last Tuesday, and it's now time for equipment cleaning and maintenance before the cold comes to stay. Prices remained strong, even as the price of oil fell by almost $10 over the last week.
Wow.
Supply chains continue to be straightened out. We may have a fairly optimistic spring. Reference to your South African discussion, if I'm not mistaken, the Cape is a global transportation nexus, so I'm not surprised they would identify a new variant of COVID. I know a few South African farmers that express major concerns every time there's an epidemic due to this very fact. Left is poggers. Spocko, the good news about the Cernovich attack was you came out stronger, got more membership and support, and kept advertisers. But were there any negative consequences for Cernovich? What can people who don't have your platform do when they are attacked and threatened online by the alt-right? I don't know that there were any, specific negative consequences for Cernovich, although I think he lost enough credibility that he couldn't keep doing what he was doing there. And he didn't come particularly toxic, but in that area, failure is bad for them. That's why he freaked out. I don't know, frankly, what people can do who are attacked and threatened by the online alt-right in that manner if they don't have a big platform. I mean, I would contact people who do and see if they can help you out in some fashion if there's something specific. I mean, part of, and there's only so much we can do, right? I mean, and if you're going to win one of these conflicts, make sure you're doing so, you're engaging in this conflict from your strengths. In
what way?
Well, in the sense that we were attacking Cernovich, mocking him in videos, and he went and counterattacked by on Twitter, and I was well suited in position to engage in that fight. Had he, gotten 20 Proud Boys to come and stand out in front of the office with bats, that's not a fight necessarily that I'm going to engage in. I mean, that's just, I'm using extreme examples there.
Yeah, I'd say, like, as far as online stuff goes, if you don't feel confident in your support system to, if you get attention from those folks, I would not seek it out.
Exactly.
Generally, because it's not, good attention.
I mean, if you want to engage in stuff like that, the way to do it is find stuff and then put it out in a way that isn't necessarily traceable back to you. I mean, frankly, that's what Cernovich tried to do until he thought he succeeded.
Yeah.
I mean, he hired Posobiec to go through my tweets. He searched the word, obviously, rape, and that's what they found. And that's why, and then Posobiec put it out. They have a bunch of bots. They put it out. I mean, that was why I deleted the tweet, because I got off the subway and I'm just checking my mentions as I walk out. Yeah. And I see like somebody's retweeted something from 2009. Mm-hmm. And it's like some just dude with no followers. It was obviously a bot, but I just didn't realize it at the time. And I'm like, I'm not dealing with this. This is going to be a hassle.
I wonder how many, it's a bit off topic, but, you were saying how you tweeted that thing about Tulsi, the clown emoji, and you were getting some Tulsi stands in your replies. Like, I wonder how much of her support is artificial too. There's more bots than we realize. I can't imagine she still has stands.
I think there's a couple, but yeah, I mean, that's always the case. I mean, they definitely use that. This is let's just play this one last video. And we're going to do the Nomi Bongino stuff tomorrow, right? We're going to pull some of that?
Oh, I haven't even seen it yet.
Yeah. This is we want to end on a fun note.
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
go into some IMs after this. But I want to end on, one of the nice things about Thanksgiving season, the holiday season, is people come together. And
don't piss down my back and
that's
tell
not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do this.
You may connect with somebody that you hadn't thought that bridge was burned. That's what things are all about, right?
So sweet
Holidays.
that people can find each other in this world where sometimes we feel like we're isolated. Sometimes we're sitting in our $1 to $3 million, really $2 to $3 million, I guess, houses, maybe in the Hollywood Hills. We're just pumping out disinformation to make money. And we're feeling like, I'm alone. I'm alone. Who could I reach out to? That's what makes this clip so very, very special. It's a season where not just friends and family come together, but grifters do too. Dumb grifters. Play the video.
Personally, I like Jimmy. We lost touch for a couple of years. We've connected a little bit lately. I know we have some political differences, but nobody really cares about that. So we went out for dinner a little while ago.
That's right. For Jimmy, it's not about political differences. It's about how do you maximize platforms when you're moving from the left to the right? Where are the opportunities for me to increase my...
do some deals.
Yes. Really excited about this.
That Blaze money spend well?
There's one person who certainly understands the path. I mean, sometimes you need a mentor, right?
That's right.
Like
he's my sensei. Sensei Ruben. Throw out those shit lips. You're a classical lip, so I like class lip. So there it is, folks. It's so sweet. I've watched that clip so many times.
I mean, we said it. We said, or I think I know I said it on the show. Like he is doing I never thought it would be this brazen, but he's actually doing it. He is becoming a why I left the left.
I mean, that's also a really cynical
Dave
take,
Rubin type.
Emma, because don't you think that sometimes it's possible for you to look at a guy like Dave Rubin and go, hey, he seems like a great guy, smart. I'd like to hang out with that guy.
I mean, at the very least.
Could they just be old buddies reconnecting? But you have to bring politics into everything.
Like, yeah, I'm not even making friends with people in media who I share politics with.
Exactly.
Like, why?
Dave Rubin could be calling for postal banking every day on his program. Dave Rubin could be saying that we need to increase Social Security and expand Medicare and have single-payer health care.
He could have a torch show and you wouldn't want to hang out with him.
He could be talking about like corporate malfeasance and you could not pay me. There's not enough money. He could sign over his deed to this house and I wouldn't go out to dinner with that guy, at least not in such a way that he'd want to talk about afterwards. Because it would be so uncomfortable for him. He would never admit that he went on dinner with me.
It's interesting why Jimmy didn't reveal that information.
Yeah.
He wants his transition to be a bit more seamless.
I'm sure they would have been buddies back in the day if it wasn't for this YouTube
right. Yeah. I'm curious. I don't even know the story. I don't think they hung out too much.
Well, but it also, you're so cynical, Emma. It could be not that Jimmy, just like sees a guy he wants to hang out with his buddies, but maybe he's building a popular front because maybe Dave Rubin supports. Oh, maybe Dave Rubin supports the same things that Jimmy does that are on the left.
The anti-vax stuff, yeah.
No, that's not on the left.
Oh.
Marriage equality. I mean, maybe they both support marriage equality.
Does Jimmy have really an opinion one way or the other on marriage equality?
I mean, I remember when he brought the Boogaloo Boys on, he said they're for gay rights.
Well, that's not
right.
Well, yeah, because that's useful. I mean, he doesn't really think gay people are part of the working class or black people or anything like that. Mostly his perception of working class is guys that look like me, former cops, that kind of thing.
Yep.
White guys. That's what makes his brand of leftism
but the
so
point is,
tantalizing to the right.
Don't be so cynical, Emma. That's all I'm saying. You're being cynical about it, and I think it's sweet.
Yeah, you're right.
People are coming together. YouTube doesn't always radicalize. Sometimes it brings people together. That's my point.
I'd love a conversation between those two.
I would love to
I would
know.
love to hear that conversation. Yeah. That would be great. Yeah. I'd love to hear it, not the one that they're going to ultimately do on their shows, but like the dinner conversation.
I just really admire what you've done post TYT, and I want my career to look like yours.
You know what would really bum me out?
And Ruben's dumb enough to fall for any kind of like flattery too. So,
I mean, it would bum me out. I'm gonna be totally upfront about this, and I know the Jimmy stands and the doorknobs and the Ruben Blaze acolytes are gonna have a field day with this. But I'm gonna be honest. I would be really bummed to find out that in any of the conversations they have had, they never say the words "Sam Seder's a fucking asshole."
Oh, 100% they brought.
Or an effing dick, or a loser, or whatever. I mean, if they're not disparaging me at least once in their conversations, I feel like I haven't done my job. But I don't know if we'll ever know.
Well, you probably otherwise loom like a, what do they call the thing you want to address in a conversation?
The elephant
in the room, yeah.
Can we talk about
it? And I'm including, if he says that guy with the MSNBC contract, I'm still including that.
Yeah, no, that counts.
That counts.
But he may not, I mean, he may compartmentalize the humiliation.
Or he may do, Jimmy might do what he does on, it could be, Jimmy and Dave both do what they've done on their shows, where Jimmy says like, "Oh, you know that guy? He's an asshole," and then Ruben goes, "Oh no, is a jerk. Is a jerk." That's what he. All right, let's go to some IMs. Bannon cellmate. I was told over Thanksgiving by family that the Democrats are controlling the price of mozzarella in order to punish Republican Italians. It was said completely seriously. I've been laughing ever since. That's terrifying. Don't know if you saw this, but Tim Heidecker did a Joe Rogan parody that's so spot on, Spotify should sign Tim. Look, let me tell you something. I saw clips from that. It's on Twitter. And I was one of the first people, I want to brag, but knew how toxic Tim Heidecker is, and was calling him out a long time ago. And toxic, not just to toxic to all of it, this country, society, parts of the universe. And so I just want credit for that. People should check that out. It's disgusting, the stuff that Tim's putting out there. Lies about there's some truth to the crab salts. That's the only thing I want to say. There's some truth to the crabs emitting a salt when they're captured that it can actually help protect you from COVID. But aside from that, the rest of this stuff is just incredible disinformation. Nicole from Buffalo. I spent Thanksgiving with my libertarian aunt. It made me incredibly grateful to you guys for having nuanced and reasonable analysis that doesn't depend on infallible power of markets to solve humanity's problem. She laughed at almost every argument I made, and even though I don't like being condescended to, I held it together. And even when she accused me of only seeing the bad and insisting that the Democrats are dividing people by saying that racism exists. Even her conservative mother-in-law complained that they were showing too many pictures of black judges on the news. Well, I mean...
Fair point.
Tim Pool's sun-washed beanie. I have secret dossier on Tim Pool and what he hides under his beanie. I'm willing to sell it for tickets to MR Live. Salad been tossed. My mom, originally from the Bronx, moved to a white conservative old person community in Florida. Now is a Trump fan, and her and all her friends love Ron DeSantis. She called him our next president. Eesh. Depressing litany. Trump says Israel owned Congress, but as Omar is anti-Semitic for saying AIPAC is outside influence. Exactly. Serious business. I was having Thanksgiving with my extended family. They're mostly conservative. So I don't usually bother with politics except to push back on the most outrageous things. But this time inflation was brought up and there were rounds of complaints about how expensive everything was becoming. The most bizarre part of the whole thing was when they began to complain about how the government isn't fixing it. They have no urgency to fix the problem. It was truly strange to hear Republicans complain about lack of government intervention. Just another lefty. Have you looked at our anti-work on Reddit? If so, what's your opinion on it? I haven't. I don't know. I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it. I'm also not like anti-work, but
Omicron variant. Sam, I'm really upset that the right is saying I am a hoax. I think I'll have to pay them a visit. Between the 101 and the 5, my uncle was vaccinated and boosted, but was in Pennsylvania where I assume vaccination rates are lower, so I don't know. Just can't help but blame all of these insane people. New MR fan. Hey, Sam, Emma crew. Happy belated birthday, Sam. Watching, guys. And while I just joined last month, love you guys. I feel smarter just watching every day. Much love. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Son of spam. Hey, wait a minute. How did the Republicans skirt the Byrd rule when it came to the deficit neutral on the Trump tax cuts? I think what they do is they work out some, like, you know, just fake fix that it's going to return, like the ones on the middle class.
Yeah, it's going to pay for itself, basically.
Oh, yeah, that's also part of it, is that they have projections, basically, you know, the Lauer curve projections. Dynamic scoring is what it's called. And I think that guy is still in charge of the CBO. BB Titch, the South Africa kind of like Spanish flu, which I think began in Kansas. Indeed. Winnipeg Craig. Sam, can I get a shofar? I set a goal to drop 104.6 pounds early in the year and hit it in just under 8 months through improved diet and a ton of walking. I'm now back at my 18-year-old weight. Rest assured, it's not as dangerously fast as it might sound because I'm about the same height and frame as Andre Drummond. Well, congratulations.
Wow.
That was a large frame.
Yes.
Wow. That is 12 months to 12, 13 pounds a month. Wow.
That's amazing, though.
All right, 5 more. Brain party. I have no evidence of this, but as a mission digger, I suspect our surge in COVID cases being caused by the Omicron variant. I would put money on it. Interesting. Maddie Light. Oh my God, JP Sears took a huge turn. I used to follow his videos on Facebook because he had stupid parodies that were kind of funny, and then he went fascist. He is huge on Facebook, which should tell you everything.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Ryan Cole. Good calls today. I'm going to take another one since that was kid tested, Politburo approved, just robbed a food truck because I watched Queen Latifah as the new equalizer. Foresto. I think it's dramatically understated how much Republicans are shooting themselves in the foot with vaccine denial. It's not just that the vast majority of new COVID deaths are Republicans, but in terms of raw vote count, every Republican or right-leaning independent that dies is worth 2 Democrats based on voter turnout percentages. They probably can afford to lose some, though, in these red areas that this is happening. Pushback stopgap. Was unfamiliar with the comedian described by the caller until she said they made their start as satirizing wellness, and I knew immediately who she was referring to. The guy certainly took a dramatic hard right turn around 2019. Side note to the caller, protect yourself. Denver Dave, Jimmy Dore dumped Jim Earl. Maybe David Feldman can provide some insight about that. Oh, wait, Earl dumped Dore. Yeah, I think so. I think he didn't appreciate his anti-vax stuff. Okay, final IM of the day. Judy Giuliani, did she mean we lose border agents because of the mandates? Yes, she did. And I laughed out loud at Emma's male grief sound.
I'm not sure which one that is, but that's...
Emma?
That's great that you laugh.
Matt? Bradley, great job today. See you tomorrow.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught between the truth and the lie.